Ah, the magic of the two musics overlapping, letting me know that we are in fact back for another all-new episode of X's for Show, which you can check out on all the soch, not letting it go, at X's for Show. As for me, I'm Nico, and you can check me out not letting things go about artificial pronunciations of abbreviations at Nico Action. That's NICOACTION.
And I'm TK. You can find me never letting go that this whole bunch betrayed Laurie Metcalf, Debbie Salt, Queen of the 90s, and I remain a fervent disciple. Laurie, I won't let you down.
Are you salty?
I'm salty about this.
We let you have Killer Bob.
You did let me have Killer Bob, and I appreciate that. That's probably going to keep some real demons off my back, but I don't know that in this demon-free world I'm living in, I can live with having disappointed Laurie Metcalf so badly. So, Laurie, I just want to say, because I know you do watch the show, I am sorry. I did try my hardest.
Part of the show, Laurie Metcalf.
And if you want to talk about this and so many other things, you can reach out to me at TK Elemental on every social media platform.
Sochmed.
And that makes me your producer, Kevo, and you can find me on the socials at Kevo Really. That's KEVOREALLY. And for those who weren't able to catch it yesterday, Teak is specifically referring to our Villains Showdown broadcast, where he was very disappointed by one of the ghost faces is being edged out. I'm sorry. You know, that's just how those games work out sometimes.
And until we come back to edge a ghost face, we have a guest with us standing on next to me. Jonah, where are you from? What's your name? Where can everybody find you on the web?
Oh, well, I guess that makes me Jonah, and you can follow me over at any social at Peak Jonah. That's PEAK.
All right. Today's not about monsters, not about murderers, not about Halloween, as much as I am here for Halloween every minute of every day. Today is about a magical little show where you always have to be very careful to keep the first word singular and pluralize the second word. We are going to be talking a lot about Lego Masters. And while we're at it, speaking of things that get built from the ground up, we're also going to be talking about RuPaul's Drag Race UK Season 5 premiere. But I want to be like, it's actually like Season 5.1 because I definitely watched some insane Versus the World. That was an experience. We'll get into how the Versus the World format bothers me later. But
it's not UK. It's different. That's why it's its own name.
Fine. Point one, though. So we are here, though, to talk Lego and Drag Race. And here's my question for you, because I can already tell you. The question is, what IP do you want to see get Lego-fied as a challenge this season on Lego Masters? What is your dream Lego competition theme? Honestly, meta. I want to see them have to create the Lego Masters set out of Lego. And I want them to have to like do their competitors and like think about how to make their competitors and like who does like the most loving thing. Like I think that it could also be, you know, a drag race challenge where they have to like, you know, do cute little drag queen mini things. But like, I do think the Lego Masters meta challenge would be really cool.
I get that. Teak, do you have one loaded or no?
Well, the thing is, I have not seen every episode of Lego Masters, so I do not know everything.
Well, you haven't had every baked potato either, but you still know what you want on a loaded baked potato.
Even if they did your dream, they could always do it better.
Yeah. I gotta pray on this for a second, so Kevo, take it away.
I think they've done Marvel. I don't think they did it well. I think they did Star Wars, but they did do Star Wars moderately well. I would love to, of the Disney IPs, now that it's, you know, Fox and everything's all together, I would love to see more direct Disney IPs, maybe a Disney princess theme to one of the challenges, whether it is building one of their castles or building the landscape of one of the terrains in one of the films. There's a lot of really awesome opportunities. Our dad is a huge Disney Anya collector, and he collected this line of the Disney castles, and they are all so unique and beautiful, and it would be really cool to see those created in Lego. Are you ready now?
I got it.
Or are you just dancing? Okay, you're ready.
He's got it.
I'm ready.
He's ready.
I want everybody to recreate a famous TV set. And obviously it can't be Friends because we already did that.
Seinfeld, Queer Eye, they're out. But yeah.
Right. Anyone that hasn't been done, but like, you know, like this group that we had in this new season, like I picture that old grandfather wanting to do the Andy what's it called show.
Andy Williams.
Andy Griffith.
Oh, Andy Griffith, right. I just
Andy Williams is Christmas, yeah.
Yeah.
Yep.
I'm getting ready to hang up my sock. It's a thing.
No, it's all good.
Like doing a scene too. That would be great.
Yeah.
Doing the chocolate scene from Lucy, stuff like that. Yeah.
A scene from The Honeymooners where the police come and finally arrest Ralph for all of his threats of violence against his harmless wife.
And you get extra points for putting in flashing lights. Yeah, I love that.
I will say I really loosened this up because I was going to say it needs to be iconic TV sets from the 90s so that somebody would do Twin Peaks.
All right. Okay.
You have to put in a recording that speaks backwards. That's what you need.
Jonah, what's yours? What's your dream challenge?
So I have two. One, this isn't necessarily a dream challenge, but more so a cruel challenge if they wanted to be evil, like they're on Drag Race. Have them build from memory pre-made sets where they just can only look at the made set and say, okay, build that from scratch. That would be
get it by the bricks they're given.
Yes. And no illegal builds, no none of that. You have to make everything, and the closest person wins. But actually, I think a very fun challenge would be a Willy Wonka inspired challenge.
Yeah. I would really enjoy Willy Wonka inspired challenge. You know, I also would love, because they've done things like, classic art, they've done theme parks. I would love something a little bit maybe different than the cultural expectation of what gets built. You know what I mean? Like, make a couch. Make a table. Like, build something instead of...
whole couch and table. Yeah, I get you.
Exactly. That could be a lot of fun, too. So, all right, we did our big question. It's time to really talk for a minute about Drag Race UK as part of our big opening question, since it's going to come up. I just want to say, to start, I have never seen and I've only seen like 11 international seasons, right? So I'm only so caught up. I have never seen a bunch of young drag queens, as the Canadians call them. I have never seen drag queens from another nation behave so American.
Sure.
These UK girls are like seriously a Burger King crown and a Whopper away from just straight up being USA girls. It's crazy.
Are we getting into this now, or are we just having?
Intro? Just like
sure.
We have it in the title. I just want to put out there, that this is an interesting point of difference where I feel like Lego Masters is exactly in line, but UK season 5 felt very different right away.
I can't speak to Lego Masters being in line, but this season to me, it does not. What you're saying is 100% true, but it has been trending in that direction, even though I think like the previous season 4 was the politest, like most sistery group of queens. I think something
that's incredible. Seeing as St. Lawrence was in season 2.
I think something that we are seeing is that other countries just tend to know to not be such a fucking mess on reality television.
That is what I am saying.
Right. And they also have realized that if you don't do it, you don't get crossover acclaim. So, especially like season 1, they really tried to make Viv and Davina DeCampo have that fight that was about nothing. And they were just so polite and like each got in the most polite dig.
I'm still have a dress.
I don't think that's the end. That's all of it. That's the whole fight. And people quote it like it's the Shangela throwing the, I don't have a sugar daddy throwing the glass at Mimi I'm first. Greatest moment in Drag Race history. But now I think this is a group of girls that has decided they are going in messy, regardless of the fact that is not local custom, because this is international superstardom, baby, and mess is what sells. So we'll get into it more.
Over there.
Yes.
Yeah, this is a load of very unserious people,
Yeah.
all kind of just combating one another in a very hilarious way. It was just almost refreshing of how unserious and how playful they all were with each other that made me really enjoy everything that everybody was bringing. I thought it is a slightly smaller cast. I think it's typically about 12 queens for an international season, but we have 11. Well, actually, no, we have 10 queens. I apologize. We have 10 queens. And it's one of those things of, oh, I really appreciated that this first episode was, no, we need a little bit more time to get to know everybody. What they were doing in a couple of seasons of Drag Race. Sorry, Irene, on season 15, where they decided to stop that trend. I really appreciated that having a little more opportunity to try to get to know everybody a little bit more.
I completely agree. And I do like that it wasn't a weird contrived setup, like splitting them into two groups and eliminating somebody and then bringing that person immediately back. They literally, the whole, we'll talk about this during the Drag Race episode. We got to do Lego first.
But it's in the title. And
yeah, no, I know.
Well, and speaking of
Again, we're going to talk about it. Yeah.
Speaking of titles,
Yeah.
I would like to say that while this person's title may say like guest star, it is always very special guest star, the kind that you secret in at the end of the episode so you don't blow the surprise, but in reruns you put their name earlier. We have an amazing contributor with us today who is entering the world of contributing to Lego Talk, and I could not be more excited. I would love to bring to the stage none other than Jake.
You ready? All right.
Oh, hello. Hi.
Hey, Jake.
Look at
number
you.
one.
You're in front of our brick wall.
Yes, because we're here to talk about bricks, and that was the background that was most appropriate.
Don't talk about the queen's makeup like that. That's not nice.
Nice.
You gotta, when all you have is like a giant wad of cotton to cake something on.
So, Jake, where can everybody find you on the interwebs if they want to build themselves a Jake figure?
Instagram, because you can buy Jake bricks there. I'm at the Heart Farmer on Instagram, and I think that's pretty much the only place you can find me right now until new
You are
social
technically
media
on
stuff.
Blue Sky. You just don't use it.
Oh yeah, I am technically on Blue Sky.
We should
And
work
I
on
don't-
that
What are
this
the
week.
what are those messages called? Cloudies?
Oh, I don't like that.
Bluesks. They're
Guys.
bluesks.
Are they
Blues?
blues? Because I was hoping they're like storms. Oh, I'm storming up some messages. You know what I mean?
I've bluesked a couple of times.
I'm a big blue shirt, yeah.
Man,
Yeah.
Sky's
huge.
the limit with us. So,
It really
Blue
is.
Sky.
Sky high.
The brick sky.
and until we hit that brick sky, here's what I want to start with. My first question for anybody who does Lego in any form is, what's your Legoing? Like, where is your Lego happy place? Do you like building a set? Do you like watching someone else build? Do you like designing your own thing? I like modding sets. I like buying the standard set and changing it a little bit, or in some cases changing it significantly. I turned Thor's house into a 3-floor apartment at one point,
Ooh.
and it's supposed to be just like an open loft. So like, have fun. But like, how do you Lego? I'd like to start with Jake and then go around the room.
Well, I've always since I started collecting sets as an adult, I kind of approach Lego like a puzzle. And so I think of it as like a 3-dimensional puzzle that I get to build over time, and it, takes a lot of focus, and it's just, there's something really, you get into like a flow state with it. You could just be doing it for hours without even realizing it. So I'm a big, give me a big set and I'll spend 3.5 hours straight sitting there building.
Let me build up that scoliosis plaque.
Yes,
Let
I
me
need a
get that
curvy
hunch.
spine.
Yeah.
That spine's an S shape, girls.
And the S stands for bricks.
The S stands for bricks. Yeah, but that's me. How do other people like Lego?
For me, I'm give me smaller sets of characters of different IPs, and so that I can collect minifigs without having to specifically buy those minifigs, and some cool little trinket that goes along with them. Like, for example, I very much love my Rocket Raccoon ship that comes with the little baby rocket. The little baby raccoon.
Little baby rocket.
It's my favorite. I had a really nice time building it. Very similar to what Jake was saying. You kind of just zone out. You put on like a nice TV show that you don't really need to like pay attention to in the background, and you just have noise, and then you put your bricks together, and it's like, oh cool, you made something, and then it sits on a shelf, and then you don't do anything with it.
Yep, that's the plan.
That's art. At least you made it.
Right now, Kevo, you do a lot of watching.
Yes, of
You're
late.
less of a builder, more of a watcher these days.
In my youth, the way that I would Lego was I had one of those buckets of the mini bricks, and it had a few interesting pieces in there. There was a window that opened, and I had a very specific configuration that I usually built to be my Millennium Falcon that involved that window. And, looking back, it did not look like the Millennium Falcon, but it's how I used to play Star Wars, or for some reason Muppet Babies Star Wars, because that was a great episode of the TV show.
And it was in the
yes.
song. You couldn't avoid it.
I didn't have any green bricks, so yellow had to be green, but that was fine. Yeah, I really love all of the major pre-pack sets. There's so many beautiful ones. You got me the Christmas Hogwarts one because that one's very special to me. The fourth Harry Potter movie. There's a lot of
What's really great is it doesn't come with any AstroTurf. I made a turf joke at J.K. Rowling's expense.
Oh, okay. Yeah, no. She's a medieval turf. She's not from the stars.
Truth.
No medieval turf. I love your Daily Bugle. That one is beautiful. I look forward to putting that one back out someday and decorating it for Christmas because it's enormous, and modding it for Christmas as a Christmas decoration will be so cool and so special. And that's one of the things I love the most about it too. I love the sets that exist, and I love the things that you're able to do to them to make them special to you. And like I said, their art, our parents collected precious figures, precious moments figures, and all those dumb things. And we have this, and that's great.
Teddies and Madame Alexandra dolls.
Yes. Oh, and those were terrible. This is, no different.
Steek, how do you build? Big man, how do you do?
I am not the world's biggest builder, but as I get myself there, I aspire to something akin to how you do it, because I like creating little slices of worlds that are based on preconceived sets, but then follow my dreams. Like you have the Disney food one that has us all going out to get ramen. And you have the bugle with every superhero, many of whom did not come with that bugle set, but like that's an event happening at the Daily Bugle, which is super plausible in the Marvel universe. Like that's a whole world right there. And that's really what I like most. But I've like really been thinking I've got to find the right like first set to be that one that I lay everything that I have into.
I love that. That's so cool. I love that.
Well, I'm very
story.
inspired by you, so how do you do it?
I really, for me, the art of a really good set is finding something that's like 1,200 pieces, your day off, and just don't come up for air. I like to actually film my builds. So I film them beginning to end, and I watch them. I look for where I make mistakes, and I look for where I could organize myself better. I have like systems for opening the bags and laying out the pieces, and I need different color surfaces so that I never have to wonder about colors on things. And I keep a color chart nearby so that I can compare brick colors in case of very specific brick shades. For me, it really is like a science. It brings me great joy to build methodically, which is where I can tell you I would psychologically shut down on Lego Masters. Wouldn't even be a thing. I can do a custom build. That's not a problem.
Right.
But for my custom builds, I need like 2 weeks just putting it together, taking it apart. I might actually make like what I do is I use like Google Sheets and I'll lay out the brick side and with color and stuff. So I'll lay out the wall of the building in Google Sheets and stuff so that I can measure what I need. And I need like 2 weeks. Lego Masters asks you to produce art in such a specific medium, in such a unique way. When you think about painting is the limitlessness of whatever you choose to use. And I certainly believe that Lego are some of the most dynamically versatile toys ever, really. But it's a brick. It's a fucking piece of plastic, and it goes in so many directions. That is it. To find the art in the limitation of the bricks available to you, and 5 million, as they say this season, is no small number of bricks. But the level of unique sculpture work. I'm not saying that anybody on here is Rodin, but I am saying that I am moved by the ability to operate within a medium that is exclusively about self-reflection. Because, solo play is self-reflection. You know what I mean?
Well, and it's an art form. It's them, and these are the materials of the art. I mean, there's no, it's got enough breadth to it. There's enough variety and diversity of those like fundamental components that you can really expand in any direction. It's like it is a palette.
Yes.
Do you think the 2-person team is a big contributor to being able to do these challenges, or is it a personality type that it's a certain kind of contestant, regardless of whether or not they, have backup, which of course is going to help no matter what, but a certain type of person that builds this way?
You say that. Sometimes I look at some of these teams and I'm like, I feel bad.
One is carrying the other. Yeah.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, I mean, there's always a Barbara and a Rosalind right next to each other in every pair of siblings. You know what I mean?
Yes.
It's just you get this is the thing I love about the show, though, is like you get all sorts of pairings, like strangers who've just met each other, people who've been like online buddies, like BFFs,
cute older gay couples.
I really love their dedication to making sure that there is usually a gay couple in there, and they're usually very cute and usually get to stay for a while.
Except the bears.
I'm not ready to talk about that emotionally yet. I'll get there sometime, but
it felt very go back to Wilton Manor is where you belong.
Like, how dare you?
Go back to Party City where you belong. Exactly.
Oh my God. That was looking at them like they were in Shake and Goes. That is what it felt like.
Ugh.
Gosh. So how do you guys feel about I'm having a little bit of difficulty with this first challenge. I loved these boats. Number one, anybody who collected Lego from 1989 to 1996 is incredibly familiar with the number of boats that they released in that time that all had the U-shaped slide fronts. You stack them forward 4 tall. You put in the second deck. You stack them forward 3 tall. You put in the first deck. You stack them forward 2 tall. And then you built the top of the party boat. Everybody had one of those boats from 1989 to 1996, maybe 98. Some of these were literally just takes on that. Like legitimately just takes on the classic sets. Some of them used color stories that I found uncomfortably similar to very legitimate sets, to the point where I yelled at the television a few times.
Yes, you did.
Aggressively. And then at one point said, and you can Google what I'm saying, because like I was so angry.
We had an audience in our room, and he was like, everybody at home, go look it up. You can see what I'm talking about. It was just the 3 of us.
I felt a little disappointed by the fact that this week's challenge was build a boat, because automatically a boat has so much internal unshowable. I felt like it was a limiting first task compared to other seasons where it was build your parade float. A parade float is something that's exposed outward to the world, whereas a boat is something that feels like it's inside. And then 4 people got dinged for having their story inside their boat. Amy, Janie, Namie. Will, right, that's it.
I hear what you're saying, and I agree. And it's also, you make an interesting point that, like, this is a particular kind of challenge where a lot of people are going to be executing it based off of prior knowledge that they received from sets. And that's the smart way to go, honestly. That's the quickest way to get it done. Does it lose you creativity points? It kind of feels like at this stage, no. Like it's just too many people and somebody's going to screw up worse than you copying a 30-year-old idea. So, you know, on par on par of planning, you know, looking at the planning aspect, I get it. I think what you say about the inside is really true, and it's unfortunate because that is a whole thing worth exploring, like creating a tough to get to but well planned internal moment is pretty cool. This was weirdly about will it float? Will it float?
Okay.
Oh, yeah, actually, if we can, we have an engineer amongst us. And
Yeah, please.
so,
Will it float?
Will it float?
Is it cake?
Is it cake? Speaking of cake, so this first challenge was oddly very similar to a different reality competition show, Baking Impossible, where in that show, it's a pair of teams of an engineer and a baker, and that first challenge was make an edible boat that can float across this raft, this straightaway. And it was very eerily similar in a way that I was like, it makes logical sense that this would be a challenge, even for a first challenge. I look at the other first challenges. You know, we had the parade float. We had the build your piece of an amusement park.
Mm-hmm.
I don't remember what season 3's.
We had cars. We had so many things. Yeah.
But even throughout the seasons, there's been different things that they had to build, and like, you know, actual floats and houses. And so the idea of the boat wasn't that it's not out of the realm of anything of them to make, especially because there are probably plenty, as Nico points out, plenty of pre-made boat sets that they create for you to build at home. From a reality production standpoint, it felt very weird that they placed this emphasis on will it float or not, and then did not show everybody's them attempting to drive their boat. I understand that there's a limited amount of time. You're also making reality television. You have to tell your story. Some people just aren't important to the narrative of that episode. That's how reality television works, especially when you have 24 people there. Too many people.
Yeah.
But it was almost jarring that they just skipped on teams entirely when that's part of the criteria. Unfortunately, if you're basing this off of two parts of the criteria of the design and building portion, as well as does it float portion, you should be showing us all of the judging for that. It felt really weird and, dare I say, a little lazy that they didn't want to show us everybody's. I also don't know exactly how to feel about the boat, because whereas I find it a little bit more difficult to figure out, okay, how do you put your personality in the boat? A lot of the design criteria that Jamie and Amy often look for is your personality, your perspective, your creativity, those little details. They talk about it all the time in every single episode. They love little details that have meaning to you and to the story of the build. With a boat, I thought that was very stifling creatively, because if you want this to float, there's only so many different shapes that you can make this to make it actually float. As we saw, we had a couple of teams go a little too heavy, a little too big, and they just kind of toppled over. There was also this one team of older women who just drove their boat into the side and then floored it into the side to their boat just crashing and just destroying itself. It was a little weird.
Classic.
Bizarre. But ultimately, I don't know if this was my favorite first challenge, because it also felt like, not that you can't ask for more as the seasons go on, but it was asking for a lot.
Oh, yeah. Absolutely. The levels of vision that you have to consider, the amount of visuals, the inside of the boat, the outside of the boat, the overall design of the boat, the placement of the story within the boat. I found that very challenging to give these guys, 8 to 10 hours for. That was a little overwhelming. Now, Jake, I know that we've been watching since week 1, and I know that you kind of came to it a little bit later, and you absorbed it after the fact in a way that I'm really jealous of, because week to week kills me. Week to week makes me die.
It's a great show to binge, really.
Really.
Will Arnett is actually a fantastic reality show host. I would never have seen that coming, but he's good. He's very charismatic. But I like the challenge. I like caveat though. Like I like that like you say, boat building is something that a lot of Lego folks come in with the skills knowing how to do, because it's such a classic build, something that a lot of people will know at least some of the rudimentaries of. But there's an engineering challenge. There's the floating capacity, like is there enough buoyancy for it to stay up? And there's the aesthetic challenge. And I think that what this is most indicative of is the fact that they're trying to calibrate season to season what's going to work and what's going to set the bar for the rest of the season. This could be a very ambitious season, and if this is the bar that they're setting, I'm really curious to see what their subsequent challenges are going to be. Because if it's that cutthroat, well, this could be really cool. On the other hand, the editing can be a real problem. There is a narrative economy here, and they do spend a lot of time on glitz sometimes and not enough time on the contestants. I feel like the intro was way too long. I feel like we could have gotten to know the folk, we could have gotten to know everyone a little bit better, but especially the folks who left. So it's not my favorite first episode of the show, but it's definitely I'm definitely eager to see where we're going with it. Also, I'm just curious, but does anyone else get like a general kind of Latter-day Saints vibe from some of the contestants on the show overall, like
yes,
through seasons?
The married couple.
Are you guys LDS?
The married couple that we just flashed
one?
past. Yes. These two, honestly, kind of.
There are a lot of lookers this season.
Well, and sometimes you get
These two,
I have 12 children, and I'm like, you have 12 children.
These two
They
heard the
actually have
commandment.
3.
The
But
hot teachers.
Oh, right teacher is so hot.
it's just unfortunate because it is just a white tee and tie that we
These
think,
two.
oh, they're on mission.
Oh.
Not Poppy.
So when I
No.
worked in Disney World, on my first day of training, we had to wear a button-up shirt, but it was like 93 degrees. So I wore a button-up short sleeve white dress shirt and a tie. And my training day involved 60 students from Brigham Young University. And they all came up to me and said, "Hey, we don't know you. Are you on your mission?" And I had to be like, "No, I'm so sorry, guys. I didn't even think about the fact that there's like a cultural thought of, the Mormonism look. You know what I mean? I had never even considered that element of it. To me, it was a hot day and a dress shirt I could survive." So I do get that, like, where we kind of project a certain element of look. And you know what? It's the same thing. Like when you see if somebody walked out dressed like Adam Lambert in that much eyeshadow, you'd be like, yeah, no, he definitely has poppers in his bag. It wouldn't even be a question.
What brand?
Oh,
Scorpion.
Jungle Juice.
Oh my God, we all had
I
different
don't
brands.
know
of
any
poppers.
Rush.
So I only mean to say our comments are all meant really positively and warmly, just about the way we all kind of project ourselves onto these characters, because when you see someone you identify with, well, suddenly you are obsessed. And legitimately, I did feel that way about the young gentleman who was there with his grandfather. I could see a lot of the way that a lot of my uncles, because I didn't have any close grandfathers, but I was very lucky. I had avuncular surplus. And
Uncle.
yeah,
You're-
avuncular.
Avuncular is it's a great word.
I
Such a
didn't
good
think
word.
it's an actual
It's
word.
the actual word.
It's an actual word.
Got it.
Av means of, and avuncular of uncle.
Uncle-like.
Yeah. Yeah, I love this pair specifically because it actually takes a lot to get a family to do something like this together across a generational gap. It takes Poppy not being afraid of being the old man, and it takes Ben not afraid of being the contestant labeled his family guy. You know what I mean? This was just a really cool pair. It does not hurt that I have that literal outfit, and by that literal outfit, I mean both.
One of the very fascinating things about Lego Masters, and it's maybe just the people who are into the hobby of Lego, is a lot of these contestants are just real people, So much so that to go back to a little bit of a point of what you were talking about, Jake, where I think I agree that Will is a really great reality competition host. He has to goad them into making very fake reality TV moments because these are just actual people. This isn't something like Drag Race where they know that they're on a reality competition show and they act slightly differently. And even if you can map your experiences to their experiences, Lego Master, I don't look at myself and go, that's me, because I don't do drag and I don't relate in that way. But on Lego Masters, these are just people. These are just like Mary Beth and Joe from down the street with their 12 kids that they brought over.
And to that point, like RuPaul has catchphrases
Literally
like,
grandmas.
"You better work," and cat and stuff. Like RuPaul has all of these crazy catchphrases. And
just meows at people.
Yeah, exactly. And what the hell is Will Arnett's catchphrase? Look at Banner, Michael. Like, I mean, it's not the same thing. So there's even a more relaxed atmosphere. To your point, I think like they even try to make it a world that is your living room in many ways.
Well, I totally agree with that. And I think that this show, as a point of comparison, is more like Great British Bake Off than it is Drag Race.
Yes,
it is.
And so Will is doing the thing where he goes around and he connects and he reassures. And when people have like disasters with their builds, he's there. And yeah, they want to get in their faces and show them crying and stuff. But he's still. This is the thing that I like about him. He doesn't abandon them.
No.
He gives them human support, like Mel and Sue used to on Great British Baking Show, and like Noah and Matt tried to, but this isn't a Great British Baking Show moment. Anyway, but I think that as sort of like a framing for a point of comparison, GBB works a lot better for me for this show and understanding kind of how the dynamics work, how the hosting works, what the vibe is meant to be. Like you said, like it's in your living room versus like in your kitchen baking. Like it's homey, it's comfortable.
Yeah, it is. There is nobody here who goes on the show thinking this is my reality TV moment. These are
It wasn't season 1 though.
Well,
there are a couple in season 1 who was just like, you're here to be on TV, aren't you?
I don't think.
Well, one of those gentlemen
think
now.
the word I
works
would-
for Lego.
I don't think the word I would use though is homey for this. I think the word I would actually use is theme parky, which is a different kind of inviting and a different kind of for all. At first I wanted to say it's got like a community center vibe, but like that's not quite right either. But like I think it's like a theme park type
Angel
situation
Goes
or like a
Bar.
theme attraction.
just a juice bar.
No, Angel Goes
Juice
Bar.
Bar.
Yeah, Kevy,
Yeah.
I can actually, in terms
It's
of the
Ernie's
color,
place.
the openness, I can see what you mean by it's meant to have like a community activity center kind of vibe, like
Like a diner.
yeah, like a multi-purpose center almost. Like I really see the recreational element. TK, I gotta let you know, I'm so excited to hear everything you have to say once you're off mute.
I know, once I'm off mute. It's also got a little bit of a store vibe. Like very much this is a sales tactic, this whole show, in a very brilliant way.
Yeah.
I love that. But there is really a vibe where they are in a Lego Market sweep store, and it's just grab whatever you can as quickly as possible, which isn't bad either. But yeah, I mean, like, as much as we all have this belief that like reality TV doesn't work without drama, and that there is no really, like, reality TV is not really real, and it is scripted, it's edited, those things are true, but also it only works if people play characters. I think weirdly shows get themselves in a rut that means that it always has to be that. Survivor, Big Brother, Drag Race, great examples. They don't function their best when people are behaving entirely like human beings. There have to be moments where they behave like characters and do plot related things that are not real. That is completely on top of the fact that any reality TV show will make people redo a scene to get it properly covered. Even if the original moment was real, and that's fine, these people will have to repeat it in order to make sure that it's covered. So the fact of the matter is there's artifice no matter what, but I think there is a class of shows, as Jake mentioned, like Great British Bake Off is another really good example. This is a great example where for some reason it would just be insane and horrible to watch if people behaved like they
Unhinged.
do on Survivor. It would just be unhinged.
Food Trucks is one of the only shows that can walk that line.
Yeah.
Ooh.
Okay.
Yeah.
But not to call out anybody specific, that one woman who wore the tiara.
I'm
and then
gonna lock
quit-
myself in this public
and then quit on the
bathroom.
spot,
Yeah.
and they're
That was
hunting her
intense.
down.
There's
That
another
was intense.
Latina. I can't do this
literally
anymore.
like a Bigfoot sighting. They're like, she's over there, and she's running into the bathroom.
Yep.
And then like you fall. And then it's just a shot of the tiara on the ground. It's
Yep.
so
That show in particular is
drama.
wild because they'll be behaving like normal people for a really long time, and then suddenly the lady from Kana is just like, "Fuck the world, I'll burn it down myself."
It's like they literally
Oh, I love
spin their
Kana.
brick head. They
Yeah.
literally just turn it, and now it's the
Yep.
scary face on the
Yep.
other side, and they put on the
Yep.
mean hair.
Yep.
reality. To echo kind of the point you're saying, reality television often works best when real people act like sitcom characters.
Yeah.
Where it's this idea of, oh, if you just had the actual emotional intelligence and maturity to like communicate what the problem was and like just try to work it out, and not like raise your emotions to a level that becomes a little too exhausting to deal with the actual situation, it's not as entertaining.
No, it's boring.
I'm remembering season 1 where the guy was like, "I don't think you understand the spirit of Lego."
Oh my god, it was
That's mean.
that was mean.
All I know is that, we're saying all of this about Lego Masters, and I think Lego Masters has the benefit of being like the name brand.
Mhm.
But I think about Domino Masters and how that was a really fun show, but immediately being back to Lego Masters, I'm like, not the same. Domino Masters was fun, and seeing that evidently Fizbo is just Eric Stone Street's creation, holy God, was illuminating of his character as a person. Oh my God, he's really an Auguste clown. But
Sure.
that was kind of the thing I walked away with from Domino Masters with. I didn't walk away with a new appreciation for dominoes and thought of ways that you could never use dominoes before. I say that as a Cuban man. Trust me, my people know dominoes. But good gracious, Lego Masters and the possibility of building one episode in, I'm reminded why this is a really beautiful, challenging show. I would love to get everybody's perspective on what they're hoping for from this season. For me, I would like to see them bring in some of the, unfortunately, I understand this to be true, but financially prohibitive elements of Lego a little bit more readily, because this is a TV show and you can show them off here. It's not saying anyone who doesn't have these sucks. It's saying these do exist. And there's a lot of cool motors, a lot of Technic products.
Yeah, yep.
Connects to, computers. And there are a lot of really cool applications we could see move into the engineering and STEM sciences of Lego. And it would be really great to get to see Lego Masters showcase those products, even if not to make them more available to purchasers in a direct way, to let other companies know this is the technology that's out there. Step your game up. And I kind of literally mean game.
Step your pussy up, baby.
Well,
Own a business.
This would be such a
Okay.
great brand to take into like a Lego Masters Junior too, and like to really lean into the
Yes.
STEM side of things and
Yes.
say like, this is how Lego is it's not just about building models. There's a really potent educational component here. People go from Legos to fields of science, and that's, documented. Half the people on this show, yes, documented. And I think that is I imagine that's got to be something that they're exploring, because obviously kids still love Legos. So it would make a lot of sense for them to do some kind of junior show that would bring in high school age kids who are STEM kids. I don't know, I'm just repeating myself now, but you know what I'm saying. Like there's so much room to grow this show and to really lean into different facets of the show even harder, and it's exciting. Like this thing only has up to go.
I completely agree, and to even add on, I think something I kind of miss about the earlier seasons is I think every episode should have a small learning segment where it's Jamie or Amy are telling Will, hey, if you're at home and you want to try to follow along, this is what I would do. They're literal Lego masters.
I love that.
I would love for them to explain to Will, hey, this is how we would tackle this challenge, and try to do a small, just startup of this is what you should be looking out for, and this is what you should be doing. Make sure you pay attention to this. Like, for example, this would have been a great episode to talk about, hey, if you're trying to use a different medium, like you want this floating Lego piece, you have to think about your weight distribution and the buoyancy of it. And I really would have loved a small little lesson for somebody and the audience at home, whether they're following along by themselves, with their family, with their children, giving the fun call to action to say, hey, go out and buy your own Lego and you can do this too. I think it's almost a little dumb that they're not doing that. It's you have a show that's promoting your brand and your product constantly. Yes, we get it. But like, encourage people to say, hey, you can do this at home too.
On a similar note, I would love to see them bring in guests that they have to work with to try and like show people that you can come to Lego knowing nothing, and you know you can figure something out. Challenges where everybody is forced to kind of get out of their Lego master comfort zone and like either teach somebody else or do something radically different. I mean, Nico, you actually really just like nailed the thing that I really want to see right on the head, which is like using things like Lego Mindstorm and all the computerized and motorized tools that they have created. I think, you know, seeing some of the old people who probably are not comfortable with that technology learn something new would be really, really cool. But I think, you know, really focusing on the kind of learning and expansion and bringing more people into the fold of it all would be really fun.
Makeover challenge.
Yeah.
You know, it really pinged when you said old people that I hadn't really realized how many old people there are this season.
Dude, his mom.
There's literally the grandmas. I was clicking on the wrong screen, of course. There's literally the grandmas. There's Poppy.
The dude and his mom. That mom is not young.
No, that mom is not young in a way that is very different from the mother and son that we loved from the previous season.
Yep.
I'll bring the picture back up when you come back in the room, Nico. But yeah, there's a lot of old people this season. I don't know how old they are, but you know.
They're young, but they do not know how to use computers. They're not programmed shit.
Emily and Kelly are mothers, and not to say that if you're a mom, you're older, but they are a little bit older, that they do have their own children.
Is that their label?
Yes, they are the mothers. And then you have Mike and Brad, who Mike and Brad, who are this older couple together themselves. They're, you know, more middle-aged than younger.
Yeah.
Yes, well.
So just really quick, I don't know if you guys heard me shouting in the background of Kevo's frame, but I brought out my little Lego family real quick while we're shutting down the episode.
Yay!
So for starters, here's Lego Nico. This is
pulling back a little bit.
Here, wait, I'll put it so that wait. Hold on, I'm trying to. There we go.
He has little headphones. He's bald. He's got his little beard. So then I of course have little Kevo, who wears a big backpack and has his signature blue baseball cap and hoodie. There's Jojo, who has his signature beard and full head of hair and business attire. Of course.
I do love flannel.
There's
guys.
EK, who maybe looks the most like his Lego of anyone. Just so handsome and wonderful. And then the bonus figure in the pack, the Chase variant, hot older boyfriend, has his...
Oh my god! He's in his Men's Warehouse outfit.
He's in his business attire. Yeah.
I've never noticed that before. Oh my god, that hair is insane.
It's brilliant, isn't it?
That hair is absolutely insane. Show it a little bit closer. Oh my god. That's insane.
It really is exactly his hair. It's crazy. And the eyebrow.
It's wild. Yeah.
The eyebrow is actually, this is the Kumail Nanjiani figure from Eternal.
Okay.
Oh my god.
Kingo.
Yeah, Kingo. And I choose Kingo because that's the eyebrow you need to be him.
I was like, is that Poe Dameron? Yeah, no. That I get. I really get. Wait, are you putting them back? Is he putting them back or is he staying? Oh, okay.
Ah,
I think the thing I'm saddest about this season is once again I feel like there isn't anyone for me to crush on, which is something that I like having in my reality shows. Nothing will ever compare to season one's.
I
Guy on the left has a active OnlyFans. Just saying.
Oh, I know he has an Insta.
Yeah, he got.
They
one of
were
them.
adorable. This one had a meltdown. That was adorable once.
Cried. Oh, it was so sweet.
Nico, I said that I would bring this up again when you came back in the room, but there was goddamn. There we go. The mother and son from last season,
Loved that.
where
He
like
so
she
respectful. Ugh.
and what was she? 12? Oh my God! Beautiful, beautiful, youthful
Literally-
woman.
literally
to have
Marissa
such an
Tomei.
ultimate.
that was Marissa Tomei who competed.
I also have saved here because I'm gonna want us to cover
Oh.
Holiday Lego
Oh.
Masters Season 1 when we cover Season 2 for the holidays this year. So this
Guaranteed.
really this is just the start of our Lego coverage
Well, and
for
then
this television season.
I'm gonna bust it out then before we move on to Project Runway.
Please
Help
do.
us all.
Project
Alright.
Drag Race.
Project
Project
Runway.
everything.
It was really nice seeing Leslie Jordan for a second. I imagine
He was great
if
on
if
it.
I'm back on for that coverage, I will probably cry, but it's okay.
Oh
Yeah.
yeah, the advent calendar.
Yes.
Ooh.
Yes.
Oh, I saw one of these recently.
We're gonna be unboxing it.
On the
There is
17th day
a-
of, Advent.
Very special video. Nico, take over for me so I can do this.
So last year they did a special Guardians holiday special box, and we bought it. We unboxed it. It was literally, you can see me having a psychotic break the moment I realized there's 6 minifigs when the box only says there's 5. You can,
Also, you guys trying to figure out Rocket's tail, and you didn't realize the direction it was supposed to go.
and so it doesn't sit
Yeah,
right.
we were so upset.
It was amazing.
Oh, that was a fun video. I loved making that video. It was a fun video for us to record. It was a fun video for me to make. And we're really excited to do another Christmas adventure calendar this year featuring even more Marvel heroes. So
And-
that's going to be fun for us to do.
especially at the holidays, something like Lego just brings people a lot of joy. And when you see something like our amazing super fan Tasty Cake, my
That's
friend is on
wonderful.
dialysis, so he has bought tons of Lego to keep him going mentally.
Great.
I know that when I was suffering from the worst experience of panic disorder, like the worst symptoms of it, I couldn't leave the house. I had to like take a leave of absence from my job. Like Lego was there for me constantly. And so just hearing that somebody else uses that to get through hard times, that's why Lego had to do a holiday special, not to sell toys.
Yeah.
To actually look at the sales. Like if you look at the air date on the holiday season, it's too late to move the toy market. It's too close to Christmas to make a huge dent. It really was just about, this is a thing that people associate with the holidays. Make it.
Yeah, and you say teach me the ways of Lego. Go on lego.com and look through the sets that exist, see what there is that falls in your interests. I know you love Doctor Who. There's Doctor Who sets. I really kind of still want to get that TARDIS if I can. It might only be on eBay, but you look and you see where you can find maybe a secondhand set, and that's okay. It's just about the joy of finding things that you love represented in brick, and building your heart's desire out of these pieces.
And speaking of building your heart's desire out of these pieces, I don't know that there's any better segue to go to UK Drag Race. Now, Jake, I know you are a Drag Race fan and an international Drag Race fan at that, as we've watched some together. Have you watched the premiere of UK Season 5?
I have not.
Bless your heart. Now, when you think about UK Drag, what is your first thought? It
My
should be
first
that they
thought is
only sing
Atlantic
live.
Ocean.
What?
My first thought's Atlantic Ocean because it's what's in between us.
Well, it should be that they only sing live.
Oh, I was
That
gonna
should
say-
be the
Oh, and no
only
prize
thing.
money. That's the other
Yes.
thing. I think no prize money because that's what they do there. They
Repeat
prize money,
badge.
right?
Alcohol.
Oh my god! And everybody.
That's everywhere.
No, it's a little bit more over there.
That-
So, Jake, I can't wait to have you back on throughout the season, not just to talk about Lego Master, but everything you love that is a part of this show. You always have a seat here whenever you'd like. And until next time, could you just please remind the incredible internet where they can find your handsome self?
You can definitely find me on Instagram at the Heart Farmer. You'll have to request to see my profile, but I'm generally friendly about that. And I guess on Blue Sky as well, but I don't actually remember the thing. But next time I will. Thank you guys so much for having me. This has been a fantastic, fantastic show to cover and fantastic people to cover it with. And I'm excited to come back for more and have a more solid background.
Well, and maybe we can bring out some sets we both love and stuff, and show just like sets we have and stuff.
Looking at my International Space Station right now.
Oh my God, I'm so jealous. I can't even talk about it. I had to make a decision, and I'm so proud of you. Such a good set. Okay,
it's a great set. It's a great set.
Can't wait to have you back on, Jake. Thank you so much for everything.
Thank you for having me. Bye, everyone.
Bye.
All right, now let's talk about the trashiest season of UK Drag Race to ever happen. Let's get trashy. I love these queens, and I don't know what TK is talking about, that they all didn't jump off the page to him right away.
They did not.
I will say
I wasn't going to bring that up, but now everybody knows. So
just that they didn't jump off the page right away. You didn't say anything like "I hate these queens." You just said it didn't come alive the way other seasons had. And honestly, for me, the first thing that's off about this season is I hate this promo shot. We had to look up what it was. I did not care for this. They all look
this
like
is 5, right?
Yes.
Yeah. What's the theme?
All my numbers.
So it's specific. I don't remember the exact name, but our friends over across the pond can tell us. It's
it was like Royal Avenue or something.
It's like a brand of chocolates.
Yeah, it's a chocolate box theme
that have different color wrappings to denote the flavor. That's pretty popular over there. I think they also have them in Canada. I saw.
It's a little obscure, but okay. It's a little esoteric. That's fine.
It's not pirates.
Well, see, I would love if the background was an actual chocolate box.
Right.
Clarify that.
Yep.
Is that the box? Is the heart the box?
I assume the heart is supposed to be a gesture at the box. I would have gone a little bit more literal.
Just Tom Hanks's giant hands on the sides of a box.
There you go.
That's a box of chocolates.
That's how you always do it. That's a theme. Okay. I mean, the American ones are so often based on clean lines, minimalist looks, solid print colors. It's interesting to see things like this box of chocolates with a lot of ruffles, a lot of feathers, a lot of embellishments, or something like Our Flag is Death in the season of Australia.
Yes.
That are really elaborate and specific. An American theme will be neon. That's it. It's just neon. And that's great. That's fine. But it's just
knee off,
sir. But by comparison to this is much more elaborate. And I guess I can kind of go either way. That sort of basic neon is going to be inoffensive for the most part, no matter what.
I want to start with one of the things that kind of took me by surprise with this season that made me I thought I was going to chew off my own tongue in excitement. Their walk-in is part of the judging criteria,
which
that was a shocker.
Across any series of Drag Race, the entrance look has never actually mattered.
And so when Tamara Thomas came in looking like Nelly Furtado and Banksy came in looking like an expensive Jessica Rabbit, it really worked for them because they came in with some style. I was blown away by Michael Maruli's entrance look. I just really thought it said everything I loved about the 80s. But then Kate Bush came in quite literally looking like a Jinx Monsoon cast-off. Ginger Johnson.
I did not see that. She is one of the higher ones in my book.
Oh, no, I agree. Later stuff. Oh, I don't know about Amy. If you're saying for the entrance, then, not necessarily my agreement. But she actually proved herself throughout the episode for me.
Yeah.
But, oh my God, how many of these girls have literally said, I just came in something to get attention over the years?
Well, oftentimes, and I imagine a lot of recommendation if they have friends who've been on the show before, it's usually the first episode, it's a photo shoot. The first mini challenge is usually they're taking a photo of something. So they often recommend, hey, something you can just kind of move around a little bit in. It's a little bit easier to move. You don't really want your entrance look to be like this full gown moment that it's hard to move. And
well, and if you're a Canada contestant, you can get that advice straight from the judge.
Oh, Nico.
You know, also France, also Mexico.
Okay, I have to step away for 10 seconds. But Jonah has tea so deliciously steaming hot. It is Peking, Oolong, and Earl Grey. And
no, that would be horrible. Don't ever do that.
No, not at once. It's on a tray.
Okay.
It's like it's a flight of teas.
Go step away and let Jonah talk his talk.
But what I understand is there's a Sherry Pie 2.0.
Oh,
and,
boy, is there ever.
I can't wait to get a slice of that.
Yeah.
For the record, I would try a flight of teas.
Honestly, I'm not opposed to a flight of teas. Yes. So on WoW Presents, the YouTube channel, they did a small snippet of everybody walking in when it was literally just a look, entrance line, and like one little part of their talking head. And I watched that before I watched the episode, and I was looking at some of the comments. Thankfully, nobody spoiled anything from at least what I saw from little limited scrolling. But someone mentioned not talking about the 11th Queen. So my initial thought was, oh, they're bringing somebody back this season. I did not realize that there is somebody else that they've cast on this season who they've chosen to completely eliminate from the episode. Now, granted, they did a very amazing job of removing this person, because I genuinely did not know there was another person supposed to be cast on this season until looking it up and understanding, oh, this person has some serious allegations against them that was brought to production. You will not see them. They will be disqualified. They'll be disqualified at some point on the show. We will have no mention of them. We won't see them. And that's kind of just the end of it. But it is very it's one of those things of comparative to season 12, where that incident happened and it was admitted to, and we have this information. VH1 makes a statement about it. BBC and the laws in the UK are a little bit different about libel and defamation and what you can and cannot say. And because there's not, at the time, to my knowledge, a case against them, they have to be careful of what they say about things.
Well, I mean, down to the fact that in the UK, you're literally guilty till proven innocent. And that really does change the way things are perceived and handled.
Yeah.
So, like, they take having enough material and they take having enough evidence and material to move forward very seriously. So it does mitigate the way is, I want to say a compliment to the BBC to make sure that this isn't a mark against Drag Race.
Yes.
It doesn't feel real, though, because, 11? That's such a weird number. It's not impossible.
No, but as someone else pointed out, a couple of these international seasons have had 11 recently, which is a weird number, unless they are trying to pre-bake an episode of, all right, we have the safety episode, nobody has to go home. Because typically,
I think it kind of is more that. Plus, it literally is just one more. They're giving you more for your money every season.
You're cutting one right away, and then you're left with the actual 10 of the season.
Yeah, kind
this
of.
extra one.
And you have
the pork chop.
We'll call them the COVID safety. And you keep your COVID safety.
I love that.
The thing that I am adamantly concerned about is, at what point are we going to start saying the vetting process might need to take a little bit longer? I don't want to ever blow not knowing who's on the season. But if you know who's on the season a little sooner, I shouldn't know how else to put it.
I think we're kind of past a point where that should be a thing. The surprise isn't that great. People follow a lot of queens, and it becomes pretty obvious. If you really want to know, you'll know. If you don't, it's really not that hard to kind of avoid it. And in general, I would loosen up on the draconian secrecy around who is getting on this show, especially in terms of maybe even have like an almost American Idol-esque like pre-casting show, just to actually do exactly what you're talking about, like kind of give everybody a chance to filter some of these people out. Or yeah, just put more money into casting and vetting. Like it might just be more man hours.
You know what I want Rue to do, and she shouldn't do it. I would never do it. Rue,
Yeah,
please
don't do this. Don't take this advice.
But she should have 18 queens get on a live stage for a live premiere, just the size of the finale.
Yeah.
And genuinely, only 12 queens should make it to the season the next week.
That would be incredibly cruel, but really funny, really fun.
It's a pageant. I'm sorry.
Yeah.
It's a pageant.
Yeah,
like,
no, I feel you.
That is how pageants work, where
Yeah.
they are eliminated
on
I
the
believe.
spot
Yep.
at the first event. You are
Yep.
literally sent home in a pageant at the first event for your cumulative score up through then.
That's true.
Sorry about it, girls.
That would be very fun. And that's always like I've said for a while now, I would like the show to be creating new products. And this is kind of a tangential conversation to being better about vetting people. But like
It's all part of it.
Yeah, Drag Race pageant, Drag Race comedy show. Now that Queen of the Universe is gone, get back to doing music stuff. Like if these are either specials or mini seasons of like 4 or 5 episodes, I just like barreling towards season 16, another All-Stars maybe, and then like being right in UK 5, where the UK queens, as we talked about earlier, really seem to be noticing that the Americans do better because we are insane people on reality television.
And the proof of that, US has its own show Untucked, and no other country does. If y'all were crazier, you'd get your own Untucked with bonus royalties.
But I am just a little bit like the first thing I noticed, not first thing I noticed, but the last thing I noticed was the preview for the next episode where Caramel and Tamara are immediately fighting. And it was so clear that they're brilliant and are just like, this is what the American girls do. These, like, they're roommates. A, of course they fight. B, of course it is completely insignificant. But these are two people who can tell, who have studied what makes good TV. And
that line, I do not owe you anything, is such a genuine thing that members of minority communities have to scream at allies, enemies, allies. So it's a line that we all identify with.
Yeah. And so I see some interesting effect here. I was very compelled by Caramel, and immediately that she identified that storyline, you kind of knew that was going to be a thing. I think equally a storyline that I noticed that I was just really confused by, that I felt like they were really focusing on, is Michael finally making it. Like, he kept talking like he had gone to Mordor to get on Drag Race.
Is he gonna OD the night before the finale in some
Also,
sort of super staged 1987 movie of the week kind of way?
What was Vicky talking about, driving 400 miles to a gig for 4 people in a bar? Did you actually do that?
As somebody who has literally played his guitar with his band to just the people sleeping with the people in my band, I will tell you, it happened.
It happened.
Sure. I believe the amount. I believe it happened in a bar.
But
I don't know if I buy
bust
it. It's
out,
400 miles from where you
15
started.
miles each way uphill in the snow.
Especially
There's a
because English people notoriously don't travel far. Like, they either go on holiday far away, but like
With everything so close,
It's
too.
Right.
so funny to me that they'll be like, and in the UK, they'll be like, oh, a 3-hour trip? I'm not going to Paris.
right.
To us here, be like, it's only 5 hours away. We can
3
make it."
hours
Get
for
in the
good
car
dick?
now.
I'm in. That's America. But in the UK, they're like 20 minutes, and I have to take one bus.
No.
No, sir.
Much.
Well, and like, so sometimes,
Oh,
I do think about the way that actually affects who we are.
Yeah.
I'm lucky enough to have been out of the country, and that is something that very few people on the planet Earth get to say. It's some crazy statistic, like 80% of people will never travel more than 200 miles from where they live. I've traveled thousands, many times, and when you're talking about the UK, there are so many countries in such a small space. The amount of like unique cultural representation, the amount of beautiful accent, the amount of international identity that's in a single season of UK, United Kingdom, this idea of multiple countries coming together versus the United States, which I know we are all, 50 states, and sometimes it seems like 275 states, but, from how different we've all become. But, we all still sort of like worship at the altar of the Rockefeller Christmas tree and the Hollywood sign. So it's still the one nation with a bunch of Six Flags in between. But the UK is this unique entity for the way it is able to come together as a nation and reflect this sort of identity. I sort of wonder if something that this sort of Drag Race experience would benefit from is a little bit more understanding of the fact that not everybody in the UK is so bound by the limits of English. And the number of queens on here who were clearly fighting a bit of an uphill battle at times with being able to communicate in an English slang was of note. You know what I mean? Because they know that this is so internationally marketed. I sort of wish they would have that in mind as producers and maybe have a little bit more subtitling and have a few more international queens. I know that would be harder for production, but I would really love to see the melting pot of Europe better represented here.
I mean, we do have another immigrant on this season being Alexa St. Pete, who I find very fascinating. I am fascinated by her. So I'm kind of excited to watch
she might be a horrifying monster.
I'm
Really?
from Sayreville, New Jersey. Quite
She
literally,
might. We'll
there
find
are
out.
3 churches in town that say mass in Polish to this day. So as soon as I saw her, I said, there's a Polish queen. The first thing I thought when I saw her.
That's
I'm rooting
what I
for
wear
her.
to church.
Which one? The promo look or the entrance look?
Entrance look.
Or the confessional look?
Oh,
He
Entrance
changes
look
into
for
the
sure.
other in the sacristy.
The basket of pierogies?
So
Bet.
I want to know, what
What?
do you guys feel about this season to start with? Do you guys feel that perhaps Rue is getting stretched too thin? I really feel like Rue and Michelle make the same fucking jokes. And I did an arrangement of Gina G's ooh ah just a little bit, which if you make it a little bit more negative, it sounds exactly like Jellyhead Crush, right? It's the same song. But I said to myself, no, this song is like so perfect as it is. I refuse to do anything to it. And I want to bring up one more time. I bring this up every time. The year that Spice by the Spice Girls and Ooh Ah Just a Little Bit by Gina G both came out. Gina G got a Grammy nomination and the Spice Girls did not.
1995, right? Or was it 96?
96.
Yeah.
So, this song was even like super epic, super legendary. But I feel like that is part of what this is starting to rest on the laurels of.
Yeah.
That all drag entertainment on television is some form of a Rue jukebox.
Yeah.
And perhaps Rue and Michelle, the jokes are getting old. Their beautiful dynamic is still incredible.
Yeah.
I really feel like they both seem tired. They don't look tired. They look beautiful. They're not acting tired.
Botox.
They seem bored. They seem uninspired. They seem like they've been there a hot minute. And honestly, I will take it a step further. I think it is primarily RuPaul. I think Michelle has some really great years in her, not working directly with RuPaul all the time.
Some
I think
Bodyguard soundtrack years.
Number 9.
I think every time she goes off on her own, including last season hosting an episode by herself because Rue
So good.
inexplicably couldn't make it, we really see, it's not that like Rue sucks and Michelle's got to get away from her. It is just that Rue managed to get a stage in the spotlight earlier and do a lot more with it. And Michelle is a big part of why that has continued to work, but everybody's got to do their own stuff too. And I just feel like we have not quite seen the apex of Michelle going off on her own. I think, as an advocate, an ally, as an older mother figure, as a person who, stays on Twitter telling young gay men you are loved,
You're describing yourself, correct?
100%. That's, the one
She
meet and
is
greet
my
I've ever done, I met Michelle Visage, and that's why I haven't done another one since, because I met Jinx, I met Michelle Visage, I met Alaska. I'm good. I'm
It can
done.
only go down.
Right, exactly. Everybody I met was exactly who I wanted to meet. It was perfect. I never want to ruin that. But Michelle was awesome and amazing, and you can
Right.
tell that she is just the best mother figure, and I think she's got a lot more in her. So yeah, I mean, to go back to the original question, I'm so ready for this brand to change entirely. I think Rue is really at a point where she can disappear from being a presence, and the name is enough. She can be doing bigger things and showing up rarely, and it's a big deal when she shows up. But otherwise, she is the inaccessible woman in the castle. Don't bother her. She is taking care of bigger things for the community. I think that's better for her. I think it's better for the brand. And I think it represents what I believe is the right way for the entire set of shows to go forward.
And just to lace into what you're saying, nobody
Please.
is saying that Michelle is bound into darkness by Rue's shadow.
No.
Think about the incredible woman that was Mary Tyler Moore, who, after incredibly successful years on the Dick Van Dyke Show, launched the Mary Tyler Moore Show, and found existing successful actress Valerie Harper and elevated her to a new platform. Nobody said, "Oh, Valerie Harper, oh God, she's destroyed by being under Mary Tyler Moore." She had Valerie, and ultimately producer, battles led to her leaving Valerie. But that's how we got Sandy Duncan to host the Hogan family. And I love Sandy Duncan. So,
Sandy?
Goodbye.
Get out of here.
Great Grease reference, though.
Very good Grease reference. Very impressed. Yeah, I mean, but you're
I'm with so much of what you're saying, and
not the Sandy Duncan part.
Somewhat with what you're saying on the Sandy Duncan part. I more mean what TK is saying with Rue. Really just directing her energy to places that I think would suit her better, rather than being in this repeated pattern. What's that game show that she hosts that we love now? Slingo?
Lingo.
We love her on Lingo. We were talking about all of these potential ideas for drag content shows in terms of spin-off. You talked about wanting to see some sort of like drag comedy competition.
Yep.
I'd love to see Rue pioneer something like that.
Yep.
Instead of just having to do this. And, goddamn, I wonder if some of it is just jet lag. The three shows that she's doing are triangulated around the globe of the Earth. Even if you're a flat earther, I assume you believe those are on different sides of the disc. And that's really far to travel all the time. And
that's just to do the show work. That's not all the promo and, so much other stuff.
A lot of wigs to carry, a lot of stuff. So I think,
to be fair, that's mostly just a body man who's doing that work.
Yeah, but she has to sign off on it or
at the
something.
wigs.
Probably,
it's a lot.
Yeah. That.
I want to ask a quick question about about Lingo. Jeez,
What?
I think if we really want to see Rue take her brand to the next level, I do think she should spend more time on Lingo. And similar products, similar properties, because she actually is a very connected woman, and she has the ability to book. She could do Celebrity Lingo. I would really like to see Leah Michelle on Celebrity Lingo and guess the 5-letter word dog. D-A-G. Dog.
D-A-U-G-E. Dog.
That is my Leah Michelle on Lingo impression, and I stand.
Did I win, funny girl?
You're a Gleek now. You're allowed to do that, so no one can come for you. That's the best part about watching that show. You can say horrible things about the show, and no one can say anything to you because you watched it.
So
to answer the original question that you guys were talking about, part of the semi-problem that we kind of see talking about circulating online is RuPaul has a very specific set of references from a specific time period, kind of doesn't want to learn anything about any current references, and refuses to really kind of jive with, the TikTok, YouTube age of fame and media and that kind of stuff. It's RuPaul's show, and RuPaul will do what she wants. She's the empress. She chooses everything. It's her name, and it's not our show. It's often why she says, I consulted with the judges, but the final decision is mine, because it is. It's her show. She does what she wants. However, I feel like it does come at a price of we are all the puppets, and RuPaul's just pulling the strings saying, okay, pull them this way to dance for me. And you kind of have to if you want to make it far on Drag Race. It's her show. Do what you got to do to get far. Do what you got to do to try to win the crown. But it does feel a little, perform for me in a way of we're moving away. Drag Race really wasn't a talent show to begin with, and now we are moving very far away from what it actually is marketed as. So,
But I will say, sorry, go ahead.
Oh no, please go.
I will say I loved the format of this episode and the idea that, they really spent a lot of time, or they spent like a standard amount of time, but it felt good on their entrances and being in the workroom. And then they basically said, do the whole thing again, but for us. It was a very simple challenge, just like give us a walk and show us who you are. I thought that was really fun. It was a little bit reminiscent of the season 7 catwalk challenge with 2 looks at the beginning at the first episode of the season, which I thought was one of, for a season that didn't turn out great, that was one of the better starts
For sure. It actually reminded me of season 10 where they walked it in and
and then they
did an
danced
actual catwalk in front of returning queens.
Yeah.
The only thing is the returning queens kind of that aspect of things bugged me a little bit.
And they all had that fucking sourpuss look on their face, all very...
I'm contractually obligated to be here, and I have shown up, but I did not tuck.
Jinx almost got slapped by Aquaria.
Yeah.
Very funny.
She's just happy for the airtime.
And then she won.
Yeah.
Aquaria, I don't know. Aquaria won me over slow. She won me over like a slow song. I'm just going to play her down till the track stops.
Please watch the video for Slow Song.
Dragonette is one of the top 5 acts in the world for me.
Yeah, that's a great song.
Aquaria.
And that's a great video. And Aquaria just dances the whole time. It's just following Aquaria. It's great. So I really liked that moment. Like, we just want to get to know you, and then not sending anybody home because we want to get to know you more. It very much sent the message of we really actually want to have a genuine moment and episode in a way that, like, no matter how downhill this whole thing might go, this was a really intentional episode for saying, like, we want to cool it for a second and let you guys just have a moment to breathe and exist. Ironic that, like, we're talking about how this whole show, like the whole concept of the show, feels weird right now. And also there's an 11th queen missing. So there's like a little bit of weird mystery and tension to all this. Because it is such a non-standard idea to do it this way at this point.
It's just forget me not on Krakoa at this point. It is madness.
To be fair, it is kind of those moments of they're doing this close-up shot. Now that you think about it, there's a lot of close-up shots, which they have
not a lot of group shots.
They also got very lucky, and that one of the top queens of Caramel had a very large outfit that was blocking where that queen was standing backstage. So we did not see it if you're not paying attention to look for it.
And, I want to just kind of interact with the idea that art is that tangible, right? When we talk about somebody taking a film and editing a film and cutting someone offensive out of a film or cutting something offensive out of a film, yeah, that's a film. Somebody scripted that. And, somebody did kind of script this too. But one of the things about deleting a queen is if you were to tell me that I've been playing blackjack with a dealer with 52 cards and all of a sudden I'm playing with 51, it really changes the expectation. I am certainly not saying that this is unfair and they should have done a restart, but there is a quality to we will never know the threat this queen posed. Some of the most talented people I have ever known have done things that they wished they'd never done. And then there are incredibly talented people I know that are garbage. So, like, you can have talent and run this gamut of made a mistake to willfully are bad. And that's not the same thing as who you represent to a dynamic of a show. So when you have these incredible queens planning who they're going to be, because like when I see somebody, I might have to sing, like I did competitive karaoke a couple of weekends ago, real drunk, and somebody sang really well, so I realized I had to do a better song. And so like these things happen. You plan your competition. And I would love to know how that affected some of these queens. What look did they break out when they saw the queen who didn't ultimately show's look?
Yeah.
Who said, I need to go for this attitude because that bitch has mine? It really is fascinating how deleting her does not delete her effect on the season. It only deletes our understanding of that effect. It's a director's cut.
Yeah. But there's nothing we can do about it.
Man, I want those tapes.
Yeah, for real.
I want the Sherry Pie original cut so bad.
Okay, can I really it is so gross to even say or even think about. There is a universe where Sherry Pie didn't do those things to those people, and we would have all loved her.
Yeah.
What a loss, what a waste, what a
Nikki
sad,
Doll talks
tragic
about it.
waste.
Sherry Pie was really good at Drag Race. Sherry Pie was really good at Drag Race.
And RuPaul loved her.
Yes,
and
she wasn't my thing, but I could see where people who appreciated her style of I never got to see Harvey Fierstein on Broadway, so I guess this'll do kind of drag is good enough.
I wonder how much that feeling is also the severity of the edit on her. And like, if you would feel that way. So, that we're talking about all the same stuff. It is no matter what they do, it can't be escaped. And we, the audience, are left kind of just sucking it up. I mean, it sounds like in this case, the person they won't be showing was eliminated relatively early in the season.
To talk about it, I apologize for spoilers in this aspect for those, but
it's no winners. It's just, timeline.
They will be off screen, disqualified, and eliminated either episode 2 or 3. They will be asked to leave. They will be given. I believe the verbiage was they were given the choice to leave. And they took that choice to leave, and we will never see them. Legitimately, we will never see them.
Yeah. And so from there, it'll go on and be authentically just who was there and what happened, and that's fine. Drag Race has always had a penchant for cutting how it wants, for interpreting every event how they choose to. And that's just what Drag Race is going to do. Sometimes that means somebody gets the villain edit. Sometimes that means somebody gets entirely edited out. No matter what we do, we do not have all the information to be objective about the show. We just kind of do have to watch a little bit passively and accept what the creative team has decided we're going to see and make our best interpretation from there. So, with that said, none of these people really jumped out to me in this first episode. And I'm just kind of interested. The most exciting thing about the episode, honestly, was the international crew that showed up.
I mean, they filmed this around the time of contractually obligated DragCon.
Right.
So this was filmed in January, and DragCon UK is in January.
Yeah.
And when you're contractually obligated to show up, pay for your own booth, you're not paid to be there. And you're also under contract to show up in any appearances they want you to.
Yeah. But that was a group that
a very fun group.
Yeah, most of them the airtime is good. Pangina was done so dirty by UK versus the world. To have a moment don't do it. Stop it. Mute him.
Let the music play.
That was such an evil moment for production. And I really think, I don't know if this was an acknowledgement of that and a buyback, but I do think seeing her as the, very respectable judge of an entire franchise,
goddess queen that she
and like truly an engine for drag in a place where it's not the easiest and safest to be a drag queen, that to me is really huge. So getting to see her like that is really big. I think it will be good for her profile. Jimbo, is probably doing the show a favor by being there at this point, honestly. And Sminty Drop, who I think is so gorgeous, went at a bad time because she just wasn't playing the game well, but had one of the best outros of all time.
Oh, it was so funny, and the fact that someone repeated it.
Yeah. She just nailed that outro so well in a way that it was seeing somebody really smart do a funny thing where Miss Vanjie is like, that idiot is so sweet. We're just gonna love her. That was not a moment of somebody that is great at branding. That is a moment of somebody that didn't realize they were becoming a meme, embracing the idea.
Whispered, Vanjie.
Exactly.
TK, who's the queen you say you would have put you in drag?
Miss Fame.
Miss Fame and Sminty, in my opinion, had similar edits where it seemed like no matter what their talent was, the decision was they're not pleasant, and so production hates them. And I probably think Miss Fame is a lot more pleasant than Sminty from what I've seen.
Definitely,
But
Can I tell you my favorite Miss Fame story?
Oh, please.
It's not on the show. It's I believe for one of the tours, one of the legs for the Trixie and Katya show. It might have been when they were in Europe. Miss Fame was doing Katya's makeup, and she saw the wig Katya was wearing, and she went, "Ooh, crispy!" And then just as she's walking past it, "Ooh, crispy!" And it's just the.
Miss Fame is amazing. She did. It might have been. I think it was Katya's old podcast that she did with Craig back in the day.
And Whimsically Volatile. Later,
thank you, Whimsically Volatile. Yeah. And they had Miss Fame on, and it was just a really great interview from somebody who didn't do great on Drag Race, but is so sure of their place and their role as a drag queen, and is so kind of, there's a group of people, like Alyssa Edwards is another one that just is always working in a way that, like, if Drag Race ended tomorrow and there was nothing Drag Race related ever again, she'd be fine. Miss Fame would be absolutely fine. Alyssa would be fine. There are these, they would all be fine. But there are these queens that you think of immediately as like their brand would just take over from there entirely. And, Sminty's young, not the same yet, but very clearly somebody who like is already gunning for that same type of career. And I root for her.
Speaking of people who could be safe, one of the things that I want to point out that the UK season offers a little bit more of, I love every, J'adore Delano that walks onto the stage and decides to, swing their way through a 90s R&B jam, and fine enough. But, the UK, a lot of these queens have actual really focused talent. And I want to say that might be because the nature of the smaller environment, it's a lot more competitive. So not that the cream rises, but, to some extent, the better queens kind of rise up. If the whole franchise were taken down tomorrow somehow, Monet Exchange would have a phenomenal career as a teacher. She would be a professor. She would complete a doctoral, get an honorary doctoral, and she would be a music professor or a theater professor. Nobody would question somebody with her years of experience and performance from having that kind of career. But a lot of these queens that are eliminated second, they don't have that choice and they don't have that chance. It's unfortunate that I started watching Canada 1 after UK versus the world, because I saw a Lip Sync for Your Life where I knew Lemon couldn't go home, because I knew Lemon couldn't be eliminated the first week and then be on UK versus the world. And I instantly loved her on UK versus the world. I definitely love her now where I am in Canada, but I don't know that I would have loved her from the first episode. I don't know that I would have loved Monet Exchange from the first episode the same way. It took me 3 seasons to fall in love with Mo Hart, so it can take somebody several episodes to fall in love with somebody. And now Mo Hart is the fucking queen of my world, so I wouldn't say a bad word about her ever in my entire life. I've changed the past. So, it really is a matter of, like what you said, all of these girls would be okay. I don't know. But what the UK did this week by saying 5 tops, by saying, no one goes home, there is an investment in the security of these women having careers in an uncertain world. That, yeah, it's good for the show having more women on for longer. It costs a little more, but it yields more success. The other thing it does is it actually shows that Ru does care about these women's futures. And that is something that I am refreshed to see.
For me, there were... I slightly disagree that I think there are a couple people who've already started to stand out a little bit. We've mentioned her before, Caramel, this beautiful trans woman who does this black excellence that's so much fun. She's from Atlanta, Georgia. Atlanta. No one calls it that. She's pretty great. I personally think Kate Bush is very funny. Her entire monologue of her going down the runway, of her skating down the runway and saying, Ru loves it, Alan's okay by it, and what about Michelle? Oh, Michelle hates it. It was just so out of pocket funny.
Yes, and I love her looks. Yes, I just wish she wasn't so... I wish she didn't behave so dowdy.
She does.
Sour.
Yeah, she has a sadness about her that bums me out.
Well, she's British, so...
That's what it is!
Dee Licious, following the vein of her sister of an unblended booby plate. I will say, I say this with love as somebody who has a big head. Because she has a bigger head, it actually proportions her a little bit better than it did with Crystal. Crystal kind of just head was a little bit too small for the size of breast she liked. But I also love that she's 20 and calls herself a MILF.
Okay, she's dressed like Icarus from the Eternals.
Yeah, she loves this Icarus pattern. And I also, I really liked Michael and I really liked Vicky. I thought these two older queens kind of just talking about that experience of like,
yeah.
Even though I thought the conversation was obviously forced in a weird way that didn't feel that natural, what they were talking about, I at least appreciated their perspective of a generation ahead of me talking about like how hard it is to find work and stick with it. And even kind of saying to yourself, it hasn't happened yet. You see these younger queens who get this massive success much more quickly because they're doing something that you're doing. And you're like, what am I doing wrong? And it is one of those like, you really can relate to that of because it hasn't happened yet. Am I doing the right thing I'm supposed to be doing? Am I supposed to be here? So I really appreciated that conversation between them. I love the through line that Banksy has of her looks with the rats, but we're not talking about it at all anywhere, which is kind of funny.
So much. It's hard to put into words.
But she seems very kooky. She seems like the kooky queen.
She's Pizza Rat in a dress.
Ben.
That's a great drag identity.
It actually is. And if you sing Ben one more goddamn time on air, I swear to God, Kevo.
Thanks.
The vibe she's giving me is very much Max.
Yes.
Oh, okay.
Like from Happy Endings?
No, season 7.
From season 7.
Oh.
And
Yeah,
I don't
same.
dislike it, but I don't know.
It's a messy look that's really hard to execute with deftness.
Yeah, and
gotta
like
hit you just
I'm prepared to be surprised. Like it didn't nothing jumped out at me first episode other than like I thought it was a very bold look.
Yeah.
But I just like I wasn't charmed by the person, and I'm just waiting for that moment where my jaw is on the floor. And she's one who I'm like I could see it. I'm not gonna name names, but there's like 4 or 5 other queens where I'm just like, I'm not expecting you to wow me at any particular point. Caramel's the real standout here. Like
Caramel is.
I feel bad because it's like it's all downhill from here. Like it's going to be really tough to raise the bar every season.
You lost your mind, Nico, when she walked in.
Yeah.
You
I
were like,
literally said she should win, shut down the show. That is the best.
it's over.
That was another Angela moment to me, similar to Pandora Knox, like just really
bow down to your goddess.
Yeah, like and
Yes,
and,
mommy.
and the look worked for it. So, you know, it's
Very
her
Wakanda.
show right off the bat. But I also like knowing immediately that she's the smart one that's going for the American drama, which is the thing that I don't love about the show, but I don't begrudge any
Well, hold on.
She's auditioned 7 times.
Six.
This
Yeah.
was her 7th?
No, this
Oh,
was
this
her
was
sixth.
For
Or
2
fifth.
different versions of the show.
Yeah.
She's auditioned a lot and been turned down over and over and over. It's
Yeah.
like Rue said, don't put her in till that piece of coal is a diamond.
You know, there's a couple of other queens who've also auditioned a lot of times. Miss Koch Davis, I think, auditioned all 6 seasons until she got
Yep.
cast on season 7.
She did
Alaska.
say that a lot.
Alaska
did all 4.
every year.
I don't know if she did it every year, but Katya did audition for season 3 because they do show her
Yeah.
audition tape. They show a lot of queens who did not get on, even if you don't
Yeah.
see them ever. Who else? Nina West auditioned a lot.
Man,
So,
Nina West, what a queen that grew on me.
It does happen, and that's always, there's 2 ways that story can go. Like, finally I'm here, or like, you know, it's kind of the Michael and Vicky thing where it's like having slaved through the mines to get here.
Please, sir.
With my last
You
ounce of
old
life,
and
I shall
bony.
drag at you in hopes that you give me a new
Literal
set of
death drop.
regenerations. Yeah, I'm dead now. So, you know, Caramel really, really stood out to me, and it was odd that just nobody else really did. I'm really rooting for them all to have a great season. I just kind of big shrug to Tamara. I'm sorry.
Oh my god, I love Naomi Carter.
Yeah.
Do you want me to go slow through them?
No, just have
Dumb
a
as- Okay.
Someone
Mix
said
it up.
that Tamara kind of gives Trinity from season 9 Trinity Tower.
Yes.
And then this
her-
one's smaller for some reason.
Well, because she's
There's
Polish.
no
She's
big-
so tiny.
There's no big version.
She's just
Um,
petite.
Which can I say it this way? I am of the camp for the girls. So for the girls like Alexis who rely on body because she clearly likes to have the corset, very cinched bodysuit kind of look. I ain't gonna come for her because I could never.
I could
I
never,
could-
but
I
she
could never.
sacrifices fashion to have a specific shape.
Yep.
It literally makes it
Organs
look
be
like,
damned.
Organs be damned.
there's just a certain thing I think when I see a super cinched queen, and I just think she's more fashion than movement, and like,
Well, I mean, we look at Violet Chachki, who had the smallest waist in Drag Race history.
yeah, that Violet Chachki decided that she was going to Scarlett O'Hara her waist to fictional levels of itty bitty. Like, quite literally, my big toe is thicker than Violet Chachki, which definitely an attractive thing about Violet Chachki to me. But I do want to say that is one more thing to add to the list as we wrap up our Drag Race conversation for a moment. Violet Chachki recently signed with an acting agency. She is building a career, and as one of the Rue girls who has taken the most distance from the Rue machine, I just think it's really interesting that there's ways to be successful within the machine, outside of the machine, or whatever you want. And I'm really excited to see what this cast of UK girls does, especially because so many of them have experience. They're not old. They have experience. They're still beautiful. They're still sexy. They're still cool. You know, they're old, but they have experience. And I want to see what a season of experience does when Mama Rue herself is pushing septuagenarian.
Agreed.
All right. I think that shuts down the Drag Race talk. We're going to move to scripted shows. But that means we got to say goodbye to this kid over here. So, Jonah, it has been our pleasure to have you for the last hour and 43 minutes and 37 seconds. But that
Wow.
means it's been a really long time since anybody's heard where they can find you. So, Joj, number one, favorite queen from the UK season, and where can everybody find you?
Personally, as of right now, I'm on Team Caramel.
Same.
Which is very funny that I'm rooting for the American in the UK season. Very similar to when I was first watching season 6, and I was rooting for Courtney Act, the Australian in the US season. So I'm all about, if you're not from this country, I'm rooting for you.
That's
Yeah,
fair.
right now, I think Caramel, already from episode 1, Caramel's a star regardless of what happens throughout the season. I think she's the one to watch, the one that's going to be booked and blessed the most. So massive respect. Looking forward to seeing more from her. And if you want to follow me for more of my opinions on things, you can follow me at any social at Peak Jonah. That's Peak.
All right, kid. Well, until we have you back, we'll see you real soon, okay?
Thanks for having me.
Bye, Jojo.
All right.
Mm.
So I'm going to send this kid on his way. All right. So
Okay.
we got some scripted stuff to talk about. And we're not going to get too hardcore into some of it because some
No.
of it is going to end next week.
Yeah.
But this does give us a
Crazy
really
soon.
I am so disappointed that some of these shows are ending so fast. Not because like they didn't deliver really great seasons. Oh, check that out. That's a beautiful symmetry, right
That's
there.
my middle man.
You know, when I think about this season set of live action programming, one of the things that really came to my mind is, you know, this could be the last live action programming for some of these things for a while. But because of the fact that animation has to be done so far in advance, oftentimes animated shows get picked up for additional seasons that don't get announced right away. They're done, they're in the can, they're good to go, but it doesn't behoove you to announce it that far in advance. I often wonder how many shows have final animated seasons that never got released. So they probably just get added to, you know, the last season that does air, but whatever. You know, Lower Decks has been a charming surprise in the Star Trek universe in general. But more than that, one of the things that Lower Decks has guaranteed us is an opportunity to see things that don't necessarily connect to the live action universe. By having this be an animated show, it's not beholden to the same schedule. So we have been very much aware that even though Strange New Worlds was picked up for an exciting third season, who knows when? We know that Discovery is done with its season 5, but they might have delayed it. You know, it's coming out in January. I'm really relieved it wasn't delayed. But Lower Decks has been a fascinating study in what Star Trek has chosen to get away with for a franchise that really saves its get away with it chips. They're cashing them all in on Lower Decks. And that amount of fearless belief in a program just doesn't fit this modern age. It makes Lower Decks seem Next Generation or Voyager or Deep Space Nine brave in a generation of shows that all feel about as brave as Enterprise. So I'm really excited about this season. The first miss for me the whole season was this week. And it wasn't even a miss. It was a C+.
Okay. I agree with everything you're saying. I think it's also kind of a release valve for years of humorlessness would not quite be the right word, but a level and type of humor that is not universal and does not really account for the breadth and absurdity of experience that Star Trek as a world and as a universe makes possible by its existence and by the stories that it tells. You know, I always forget the name of the episode, but the Janeway in Paris going super warp and evolving into
Yeah, it's better to say it that way.
Right. That is absurd and stupid and really funny, and that was not meant to be funny, and that can never not be funny now. So that
Nor is it never not had happened.
Right. That's always, there's so many things like that where it's just like, if we are not going to acknowledge it, which we shouldn't because it's stupid, as a real thing and like as a thing that totally happened and has consequences, then we better laugh at an amalgam or an analog to it. Like we better find ways to look at all the stuff that Star Trek has said is happening and laugh at it for real, not like, Mr. Kim, I'm making a little joke at you. There they are. They're horrible. Why do they have little lizard mustaches? I hate them, but I also love them, and I think that they should show up in Discovery. Setting that aside, Lower Decks, while really brave and really out there, is maybe the secret release valve that is allowing Star Trek not to implode.
Yeah.
another amazing, really funny moment. Because, you know, the original is absurd and I think is meant to be cheeky and fun, but nobody who wrote that and produced it knew how we would laugh at it in a loving way. This knows why that is funny and what to do to make it funnier.
And the way they utilize the fact that the animation has so many built-in benefits when you're trying to do an homage. Shax's face is clear in the mirror, whereas Ransom's face is facing outward to the audience. It's a really brilliant way to stage it.
Look in the background as well. You can see several racks of Anbo Jitsu equipment that I'm sure wasn't there in the original scene. But like you said, animation, they can work these things in. They have the ability. I see so many people in the background wearing these things like this because it's animated. So they can just write it into the script and just draw it right in. And there's so many things that they are able to reference just by having that semi-unlimited kind of like budget in that regard.
And that's, you know, that's another part of it. Star Trek is a universe that says anything is possible and delivers on that in incredible ways and then can't deliver on it in others because it is in fact a television show with a budget. And animation does exactly what you're saying. It allows you to up the narrative budget and expand the narrative economy to allow for so many things that Star Trek has always said are there, but couldn't really pay up on.
And behaved as though were necessary elements to the freedom of future.
Yeah.
Like something that's insane is this is the first time we are seeing the planet Orion in the history of the Star Trek franchise.
Wow, man.
On lower decks.
Yep.
That is so cool. It was so awesome to see. And, you know, now we have a template to work off of.
And Orions are the drag queeniest species outside of Betazoid.
Oh my god, they really
They're
are.
very gay. It's very funny. I think this was a great example of like, could you have found like a villa in Italy to film this? Sure, absolutely. But I think animated, this feels more like what they have been trying to say.
Yes.
And I love that like development of the Orions in particular over these last 10 years with the streaming era of Discovery they've been probably the biggest beneficiary. We have been asked to think about, meet, and know the Orions in so many ways that they are this like analog to the Ferengi in terms of wealth, but they use their wealth really differently.
And they're so hot.
They're gorgeous, and that would meld with mafioso enterprises, that would in the future become a galaxy-spanning enterprise that is both keeping people alive and keeping people oppressed. It is such a brilliant trajectory. This is really a capstone on that by showing us their planet and having what you talked about, a sort of unlimited budget to depict the kind of wealth that we have seen exist over 1,000 years. But I don't think we would believably see anywhere in live action and go, that feels like what they've been telling me.
I think the second one after that I would say we have really seen be bumped up in terms of significance in this era is Andorians.
Yeah,
because that was always a really hard one to do, and it still is.
Yep.
So we haven't really seen too many in live action, but there have been more in the background than there ever were, and really Orions have been given so much focus. There's a really hot Orion character who was introduced at the beginning of season 4 of Discovery, who is a potential character for us to see in the upcoming Starfleet series. So hopefully,
the kid
when they're on that ice planet.
Yeah. Okay. The student.
Yeah.
And you know,
it's Starfleet. They're all adults.
Osira was such a like hot character and great villain.
Oh my
god, she was really that thing that I'm talking about, where like
served next level cunt, like
100%.
She reminded me of Constance Zimmer, and also who's Bobby Bernstein from? Yeah, Aaron Sorkin, whatever her name is. You guys
broke
know.
my brain, but yes,
I know. You guys will figure it out.
she was really the thing that said, hey, we've been telling you that the Orions are this planet of really wealthy semi-criminals. What happens 1,000 years later when we are all desperate for survival?
Lisa Edelstein.
Lisa Edelstein.
Lisa
thank you.
Edelstein, yes, it
The last
is.
of the really cool
Lisa
club
E.
kids.
Yes.
You always say that, you do.
She was literally the last cool club kid in the history of the world. She defined the medium.
It's actually Vivacious from season 6 of RuPaul's Drag Race, but you know, close.
It is.
I'm kidding. But you know, the idea that 1,000 years later, this seemingly like Starfleet kind of turns a blind eye to their mafioso ways, that would become this like galaxy spanning syndicate that has more control and power than the Federation, that is absolutely somebody the Federation is going to have to contend with. It was just so brilliant. I kind of am repeating myself here, but like this was a really fantastic episode. And this is not even the one we're talking about. I'm a B+ on this most recent episode, if for no other reason than we don't get a lot of Beta Z screen time ever. That isn't a Troy.
Yeah. Okay.
And that the Beta Z screen time that we got gave us so much subtle information and gave us 3 actors
all 3 of whom I worship.
Janelle James,
Yes.
Rachel Dratch, and
Wendy Malick, the greatest thing that ever happened to Frasier.
Thank you. 3 women in vastly different stages of cougardom, but you know, all working it.
That is very true. Great.
Yeah. Yeah, and that the last thing we heard about Beta Z really in like our TNG, Voyager, Deep Space Nine continuity was them getting occupied by the Cardassians. So that we know that they raise capable warriors and secret agents kind of speaks to the fact that, like, you know, it's very subtle background information, but we know that things are happening on Beta Z. They were not destroyed by that. And we don't have to do exposition. It's just subtle things that teach us this.
Can I just say that the Cardassians plan more occupation than a job placement service? It drives me insane.
It was a little one note for sure.
It was
But, you know,
overwhelming.
I really respect a show like Discovery for working with it and finding a way to account for the fact that it exists in the universe, while again not doing expository, well, once we got over the occupation we created a whole thing of female warriors.
I literally shouted racistly the first time I saw a Cardassian member of Starfleet.
I think we all
He was
had
so
that moment.
upset when that happened on Discovery. He was like, no!
I think we all had that moment.
I was like, they will never be done paying for their war crimes. Bajorans will never be done suffering for their faith, and you will never be done having done it. And like, I had to really separate that. Like, when I came into Star Trek, and you know, particularly Deep Space Nine, my most formative Star Trek, I had very simple views of black and white. You know, the man I am now, I couldn't exist without my network of partners. I love each one of my partners just as much. And the idea that the boy I was that watched Deep Space Nine couldn't imagine a poly man. You know, I just think about this intrinsic core of who I am being so different. I definitely judge Cardassians by the lens of an 8-year-old, and I'm glad that I don't have those feelings for, you know, Andalorians or for Orions. Kevo, I see you got the ever important.
You know what's really funny about that, though? I really respect everything that you're saying, and you know, we all have feelings about all different manner of things. I'm sure that our forefathers have a lot of feelings about Klingons that we don't, because we didn't grow up in the same era of Klingons.
Yeah.
Cool.
But something that's really funny, especially from Lower Decks, that I'm really enjoying, is their consistently ludicrous characterization of Romulans.
Yes.
Oh my
As
god.
these-
It's my characterization of Romulans.
And ringing. I was going to torture him and betray him, and I'm going to do it faster. I hate
Let's go
cleaning up.
lurk in Sector 37.
I hate cleaning up after torturing Remans. They're so messy. Oh my god, it's so over the top and stupid and hilarious, and I love it because Romulans are dumb.
Yeah. And this is what Star Trek has given us.
Yes,
Because
yes,
the-
this is
the writing-
Romulans.
The writing was not always good, and so the thing we're not gonna do all the time, because what most Star Trek live action does now is go, no, we're serious. We got better writers. It's not just these kind of company men guys that got on board. We got people that understand subtlety and nuance, and we're taking the Romulans seriously, and that's great, and that should be a lot of the dramatic Star Trek that we see, but this characterization exists and we can't deny it, so somebody has to be the release valve, and it's Lower Decks and it's characterizations like that. Again,
It's
another
silly.
great moment. Yeah.
Can you
It's-
just remind
yeah.
me Tembo's name over there?
Kayshawn.
Kayshawn. That is one
I
of
love
the most,
Kayshawn.
truly one of the most incredible achievements of this show is making an entire species that wound up kind of a meme, right? It's that thing where like when somebody tries to do something that is really brave, like when somebody tries to hit a note that's not quite a note in their register and they commit it to music, like Kesha in Praying, right? It's not the most beautiful note in the world. It's a note of reality. It's a note of what's going on in her heart. I think characters like Kayshawn are born of stories that are well-intentioned, but sometimes don't sound the way the artist thinks they do 20 years later. But Kayshawn has somehow become a character that challenges every notion of what a note that doesn't sound quite right 20 years later could sound like. This is an exciting opportunity to take what is maybe seen as a failure of storytelling and of seriousness, at least, and really of turning it into something that makes me smile every episode of Lower Decks.
And again, I don't think it's like, I think we all loved that episode and
Yes.
then laughed at it a little bit and then said, but what would happen after? And
Yes.
Yeah.
I just, the point I'm repeatedly making, I don't think you could ever do that on, Kayshawn could not be on Picard.
I rewatched the Shako and the Walls Fell episode with
Yeah.
Jonah when I was getting him ready for the character of Kayshawn because I wanted him to know that episode and
Yeah.
that meaning from the original source before meeting the character. And it's really fascinating the way that the show was differently written even in the 90s, where
Yep.
like they were like, we've been trying to communicate with these people for 100 years. That's not something that they would try to make us buy. Like maybe half a century.
Yeah.
But even that, like
It'd be
I
like
feel like
7 years.
20 would be pushing it.
Yeah.
Because the idea that we wouldn't catch on more quickly today would feel ridiculous, but it just is the history now and is the lore. And
Yep.
instead we're leaning into it and seeing how quickly these characters and this race was able to assimilate into Starfleet now that we've got the ball rolling, that he is a security officer. And that's so cool.
And just to comment that, because you have this image up, I can see Admiral Alonso Freeman. And it just reminds me that there are 2 different Star Treks running right now with, honestly, I have to add it because I may unbelievably hot, but incredible black men as admirals. This is
April?
Yeah.
April,
on Strange New Worlds. This is a really interesting thing where Star Trek has long taken the opportunity to represent minorities in positions of power, in positions of authority, in positions of intelligence, and not relegate them to tropism and, minorism compared to, white leads.
There's also Admiral Daddy on Discovery, so that's another one.
Admiral Daddy, excellent point. And one of the things it reminds me is that Star Trek has worked so hard to take care of like real world things. And of course, it's gotten them wrong 1 trillion times, but it's gotten them right 2 trillion times. And kind of coming to realize that there's like actual Star Trek internal racisms, like Kayshawn, is really interesting. And, I think Miglimo is a little too silly most of the time, like actually takes me out of it. Actually, no, that's Star Trek's fault. There should be more
and I feel
purpose.
like how silly Miglimo is a take on the original idea of Cations in Star Trek the Animated Series and leaning into the silly things that you can do because it's animated.
By all
I
means.
wanted to point to there was something that I caught in looking at the screen caps, and again, it's set dressing, and it's things like the tarot cards that were at one point, and this being the emissary, and it's Cisco.
It's Cisco, which
This
is not a card,
Celestial Temple, and it's
and it's
the
the wormhole.
wormhole.
Yeah.
And I'm gonna have to look into what all of them are, but like, yeah, it's so many things like this that are built into the fabric of this world that they are able to draw on and build on and
Amazing catch.
turn into things like Mark Twain being used for negotiations. And I, like Nico, was perhaps not as supremely taken with this week's episode, but I'm really okay with that, is the thing. I don't
I'm
need
curious. Did you
every
guys watch it
single-
again?
No.
Okay.
No,
I
not
feel
yet.
like part of it might have been the environment of where and when we were watching it.
Oh, so this
Okay.
was watched while we were still spending our incredible week. So whenever I get the opportunity to be with my partner TK, it means the world to me. And that TK and Kevo have become such, close friends. It makes family time when we get the opportunity to be together. Really, it makes our family so happy just to be together that, yeah, sometimes when we're watching stuff, we just talk over it to celebrate how much, what we do here is our real life as well.
Yep. And I do feel like we worked and talked over this episode a lot. But I really, on paper, if you take an inventory of what happened and what is in this episode, you have to admit it's stuff you love.
Oh, I mean,
and no one's
far
ever
and away.
saying every episode of Lower Decks. It's that's the thing, and it's this thing that I feel about a lot of stuff. It's how I feel about the Chris Chibnall era of Doctor Who. Every
Yeah.
episode of Doctor Who is usually still better than most other TV programs that I can
Right.
put on, and I would rather watch almost any episode of Doctor Who than like a lot
So
of
it's a
other
lower deck C, not a TV C.
Oh,
yeah,
for sure.
exactly.
Yeah. Okay,
Yeah,
I love
no,
I love
exactly.
Avatar: The Last Airbender C. It's literally still better than anything else.
Yeah.
So
All right. Well,
It's
I'm sold on
really,
that.
frankly, it's frankly important to bring up the distinction because still how much we are loving this show halfway through this season so far, still so impressed. I'm really mostly taken aback that we have so few answers on what we were told was
Yep.
going to be more of an arc. Jonah's gotten through the first 2 episodes so far, and I turned to him and I said, no answers yet. And he was like, are you serious? There's been 5 episodes. Maybe we'll have more in the back half. And we said that at the same time even. And I respect it if that is the case. But I don't know. I'm surprised.
I mean, given the fact that it has not been a huge part of what they do on Lower Decks, building up to arcs, because this might not work. And we know that Star Trek species or problem of the week works very well for Lower Decks. Again, I'm just going to point to the fact that Lower Decks apes previous Star Trek, which can no longer do what it did. Star Trek live action cannot be species or problem of the week anymore. It can have elements of that, but it will always now have overarching seasonal plot because that's what we expect.
yes, absolutely.
Lower Decks not only can, but should for a number of reasons, but they are also they proved early on that they can go beyond that. It's just a matter of figuring out how to do it in a way that doesn't break the bank on all the stuff that they have inventoried and saved from the Star Trek world and made possible to use better. So I think this is a really great, subtle first attempt. I will be really interested to see if it's minor reference,
2 whole episodes. Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. Or if we, as you said, in the back half, the whole thing just picks up and we do like 10 minutes in the next episode, then, a whole one the next episode, then we dial it back and then have a finale that brings it up. We'll see. I'm fascinated to watch them work their craft on this.
Yeah.
Now, we have a couple of shows that are unfortunately going to get a little bit less.
Because we're saving it for next week when they both end.
But
Yeah.
speaking of characters like Miglimo and the Orions, it's a really great time for characters who have always been not necessarily a conventional color in animation, but being able to be transported to that color between makeup and CGI effects. Like the entire world of Ahsoka, everybody in that show is green, like they're doing a Kermit the Frog tribute show. It's crazy, but this was the first week that I felt Ahsoka might actually be the main star of her own show, maybe in the whole series. And that said, this is my second favorite Star Wars TV show on Disney Plus. Number one is probably definitely Obi-Wan. I just have such a relationship with Ewan as Obi-Wan. I really enjoy Ahsoka. And number three is, of course, a very strong vote for The Mandalorian. I would love The Mandalorian a whole lot more if I watched it at 1.2. But sometimes watching Mandalorian at 48 minutes an episode, I get a little sleepy. I have not once experienced sleepiness during Ahsoka. I don't know if it's because they have been very clear to make sure that every minute of Ahsoka is taught. Sometimes I actually find Ahsoka stressful. I have meetings a lot Wednesday mornings. I either have a lecture that I give or a meeting Wednesday mornings. And there are times that I'm like, Kevo, can we please watch Ahsoka after I give my lecture or I have my meeting, because it is actually stressful. But this week was probably my second favorite episode in the show so far. I just think what they're attempting to do by crafting a narrative that doesn't always show Ahsoka, but is always about her, is a really daring thing. And I'm going to make a really weird joke and no one's going to get it that wasn't alive in 1979, but it's a real Mary Hartman season 2 kind of move. You know what I mean?
You're so weird.
I do love the idea that Ahsoka is a brand and a corner of the Star Wars universe.
Yes. What a great way to say it.
Not just a bad bitch, which is absolutely there. But like we talked about this before, like this is Rosario Dawson being like, I have this much time and this much pay. You can figure the rest out. And, honestly, I'm poking a bit. There could be a billion different reasons why it is done this way. This could have always been the intention, regardless of who they got, even though they got this massive celebrity. What I will say is no matter what, she shows up.
Rosario Dawson.
She shows up for the time that she's there. She shows up so hard.
She is present. Yep.
The fight choreography she's there for, the incredible emotions of this grown woman who was this girl that we all grew up with.
Yes.
That we all knew we were careening towards sadness with, because we all knew what was going to happen to her mentor. And that, Ahsoka then went into Rebels, grew a sort of big sister family for herself, while dealing with this maddening disappointment that we then shoot all the way to this future where she is grown up and she's a woman and she still is kind of den mother to this group of feral children, but also has nobody to look after or take care of her, never got closure on a horrible situation, and is just dealing with so much heartbreak and trauma. I think it's something that we all reflect on, again, being kind of like the same age as Ahsoka at many stages in our own lives. And
now we're this old.
And now we're this old, exactly. And Rosario Dawson has shown up to tell that story. And every accessory character or secondary or tertiary character, or like half main character like Sabine, has really shown up to do the same thing in their own way, and has been prepared to do some of the lifting of a non-traditional format in which, the Mandalorian is basically in every second of The Mandalorian. It is a show about that dude.
Yes.
And it's not, at this point, it could be the Mandalorians and pull back from him, but that would be a change. It has always been about Din Djarin. This is kind of the opposite, and it's funny because Mandalorians are a people and Ahsoka is just one person, but this is about her orbit as much as it is about her. And, you know, just Hu Yang does an amazing job. Now the Ezra is a fantastic character that has really helped to bring some weight to these last 2 episodes. It's all just firing on all cylinders, and I think I'm glad that they didn't overindulge and do too many episodes or make them too long. I am really sad that this is ending at 8, and I'm just like, I'm immediately ready to hear that the next season is picked up and that it's coming very soon.
And, you know, one of the things that's really hard about that is in a world of such uncertainty with so many of these shows,
Yes.
it feels like it's so hard to really trust that some of these narratives are going to be
Yes.
seen through without being
Yeah.
transformed or shoved into the background of another project.
Yeah.
They keep just talking about some of these projects like they can move, like it's no big deal. Oh, that story is going to get finished in this movie with 3
Yeah.
other stories. Oh, that story is going to get its own show. It was getting a trilogy, but now it's getting 6 episodes. That's not how storytelling works. And when that's for the better of the story, sure. But Ahsoka has always been an episodic character who has moved show to show. The idea that you would maybe overcomplicate Ahsoka by cutting it here and forcing us to follow her somewhere else instead of giving her a second season would be a little too distressing for me.
See, and I follow more of a school of what I've read Russell T. Davis had discussed when asked. He said he was asked how he would have done It's a Sin differently if it had been given 2 extra episodes, and he was like, I wouldn't. It would have been 10 episodes instead, and I would have told the same story across 10 episodes instead of across 8. I wouldn't have shoved more story in. I wouldn't pull story out if there was 6. I would just find a different way to tell it. And, you know, bits get naturally cut the way anything's going to get cut in editing potentially anyway. And so that's sort of how I try to view situations where things get shifted around and cut from, like, what was the War Machine one we were supposed to get?
Armor Wars.
For the MCU, we were supposed to get Armor Wars as a series, and now it's a movie. I kind of hope that it's, instead of you know, something to worry about, maybe it's more like they learned from Secret Invasion should have been a movie, and it's just going to be a really long movie, and that'll be a lot better than trying to make it something longer, and they just figured that out later. You know, the thing about television and movies as an art form is, unfortunately, it takes so many people to make, and it takes so long to figure out sometimes. It's a bit like trying to build IKEA furniture, but you don't just want to build the kit, you want to build it to your specifications. So you have to change things and figure it out over time. And part of the trouble with the era that we live in is so many more people are aware of the process. So many more people are aware of how things are changing from start to finish. I think about the early documents from the original trilogy and the way things were different. And it was supposed to be 10 movies. And the bad guy of the entire Return of the Jedi movie, like that opening 10 minutes, was going to be a whole film at one point. And Boba Fett was going to be a much bigger antagonist. And so when I hear people be like, there was no plan when they made the sequels, you know. Okay, well, Luke and Leia were supposed to bang, and now they're brother and sister. So if we are going by, you're an idiot if you change the plan as you are making it, then nothing about this machine works. And, you know, I think it is absolutely ripe for criticism when we feel like things aren't working for us. Totally. But, like, they're really, this has always been a franchise of throwing stuff at the wall in a way that is so different from Star Trek, I am coming to learn. Star Trek is so much more loving and kind of its history, even its stupid history at times, I feel, and that's something that we really get from Lower Decks. Whereas Star Wars is more like, well, I broke shit, and now I gotta work with these jagged pieces and make something. Ow! It's fine. It's just got blood on it, and it's fine. and that's Star Wars. And that's okay. I'm just really always anxious to see how things are going to conclude when it comes to stories like this, and with something so grand like this. Are we going to see any of these characters again in anything significant anytime soon? Or is it all just going to build toward that movie we're hearing about? We really don't know. So the fact that we don't know what's coming next, I don't want to like pressure them.
Yeah.
But it's part of what makes it hard to feel satisfied by a conclusion in this universe sometimes.
I definitely get you. And it's really a time will tell thing. It feels like they've got such a grip on so many parts of Star Trek that the big thing that we're all wondering about now is conclusions. And we're still a little bit in the middle of a whole phase of just trying to get stuff off the ground. So the question is, when stuff is fully off the ground and has had some time in the air, how do we then come down and land everything? And I think for the most part, it's going to be a few years before we get there, and we're going to see successes and failures. And that's just what it is. You know, I don't want any of them to be failures. So
just to kind of comment on your guys' point of, you know, some of these universes have better breakpoints than others.
Yeah.
Star Trek has been around so long that we can go back to earlier times. Star Wars has been around so long we can go back to earlier times. What happens when the Marvel Cinematic Universe has been around for so long that we can go back to earlier times with a new cast?
Interesting.
yeah.
It's a really unique thing that allows these universes the breadth of experience to continue aging with grace, whereas we maybe don't give newer franchises the same grace period that we give something like Star Trek or Star Wars or even something like Lost in Space, which, you know, has had 3-4 iterations, despite some of them being maybe a little bit more lackluster than others. So it's always really interesting how we react to these fandoms and these mediums. And, you know, speaking of things that we've reacted to, had some judgments about, Only Murders in the Building. Not a whole lot I want to say about it before the finale. I'm really excited. I think this whole episode, while brilliant, is going to prove to have been a couple of clues, but a whole lot of just fooling us to get to the finale. This is a great show. It just highlights the cast and their talent. There was an article that Chevy Chase is talking about. Oh, they might do a Three Amigos, reunion on the show. Maybe. I hope not, because Selena Gomez is 4 times the man Chevy Chase ever was and looks 10 times better in a dress.
Hell yes.
You can just go ahead and you can put her in as Pierce in all of Community for me.
She'll be a golden god.
She really will. I want to hear her Baby Boomer Santa.
Yeah.
I would love it.
So a little bit more baby than Boomer, but
Yeah, there's not a ton to say here on the eve, not the eve, but right before.
close to.
Yeah, close to the eve of the finale.
Eve.
Eve of the finale. It's it's just such a great show. It's just so much fun.
I am so glad that you have so taken to it. It's, you know, it's often ridiculous and often stretches the limits of plausibility for
Nobody
sure.
stops the bride. Woman gets immediately out of cab, gives cab to bride. No one everybody in New York would be like, bitch, get a limo.
It's not supposed to be super realistic, though. I think one of the things that we don't really talk about that this really evokes for us in a lot of ways, too, is Desperate Housewives, where it's just so beyond reality at certain points. It's trying to underline the harsh emotions of reality, but, like, the things they get away with are ridiculous on purpose.
For sure.
Oh, I have to change the title.
Well, I don't think you have to change the title for too long, because I think we can safely wrap up Only Murders till next week. This has been such an exciting episode of X's for Show. I only said Only Murders for Drag Race Masters, But it has really been an exciting opportunity to think about sort of the way that some of these things are the same and some of them are kind of different. We've obviously compared Star Wars and Star Trek, as has media at large for the last 40 years. But something that you don't always think about is comparing something like exactly that image, Drag Race and Lego Masters. They are really both about building artifice that reflects the art inside of you that allows people who felt disenfranchised to create in a way that is tangible. That said, Lego Masters is hosted by a guy who likes to make jokes a whole lot more than he is interested in hosting and judging. And oh, wait, so is RuPaul's Drag Race. So I think one of the things that this episode like kind of made me feel stronger about is my interests are pretty aligned, actually. I just like talent. No matter what it is, I like talent. And Survivor doesn't have talent. Survivor has skills and abilities and finding ways to survive. But Lego, that's a thing you have talent in. Drag, that's an art form you have talent in. The thing I'm drawn to is strong talent regardless of any other trapping. And an episode like this with incredible voices like Jonah, Jake, these two incredible geniuses I get to share the stage with, and incredible voices in our audience like Tasty Cake, who always knows just what to say to make an episode that much more tastier. I just cannot enjoy what we do more. And frankly, I was in a pretty bad mood 2 hours and 26 minutes ago, but tonight...
Yeah, I know, pal.
Yeah, but being on air with these clowns always makes my whole world a little bit more Jimbo. So I want to ask, guys, what is it about these shows that makes us so happy as our sign off? I'm going to kick it off. For me, it's that every one of our shows kind of has the theme of, no, you can't hold me down. There's plenty of shows that don't have that as the theme. There are plenty of shows that are just about slice of life and making it. But everything we talked about tonight is about becoming better. Competitions are that by nature. But that's the whole point of the Lower Decks crew. They want to rise up to be, members of Starfleet that are treated maybe a little better, but also get to contribute in different ways. Ahsoka has spent her whole life proving herself. And of course, Only Murders is three people who, despite every incredible advantage they have always felt less than. And that's what we love here. We love an underdog story. And it's just really nice to feel like that's what we're talking about. Kevo, what is...
Tori in the chat. Oh, I have arrived in time
For
to be
you.
appreciated.
So appreciated, always.
Kevo, what is it that you love the most about what we covered tonight? And where is it everybody can find producer commander Kevin Arthur?
Well, I think the thing that I most appreciate about our show in general is the breadth of things that we always have to cover. I really love what the show's become, and I love the different topics, and I love that there is always something new. I am very excited this week for us to return to the TVA, and we will soon be covering the premiere of Loki season 2. So, even when we have Ahsoka finishing this week, even when we have Only Murders finishing
Disney's always got their talons in us somehow.
At completely different times of day, which is very annoying.
Yeah.
It's going to be really annoying that we will have to watch Loki Friday mornings, I'm sure. Tori's super stoked. Give me that time, Agent Chaos Lord. Maybe we will be able to get Tori on for some of our Loki coverage. That would be great. I'm sure she would love it. I'm sure you all would love it. And we all love doing this. And so, yeah, I am super stoked. We've got some awesome ideas for holiday coverage this month for Halloween that we are very excited to bring to you. And until then, Teak, what are you most excited about right now, and where can the folks find you? Yes, I got it. You can find me at Kevorally. That's KEVOREALL. Why don't you take it from here, Teak?
And also to answer Nico's question about what I love about all the shows we're watching, I love that you found a way to tie them all together thematically in a way that's totally true to life. or true to the experience of the show, I should say. One of the things that I am most excited about with all these shows is I think they represent the best of what streaming serial television is today.
Great.
They really are excellence in that category.
Yeah.
Including Drag Race and Lego Masters. You know, for all that I'm very critical of Drag Race, I still think, as Nico mentioned, it is talented people showing you their talent.
Yep.
Dude, you're critical about it. You spend like 12 hours a week watching it and 10 hours a week talking about it.
And absolutely loving it. And like I say, you know, with the exception of like little things here and there, I never get on social media and say nasty stuff about a queen. I love them all. Even if somebody doesn't work for me, I will always say that's a me thing and never that it's, you know, just somebody being trash or deserving any kind of like ridicule or mockery. Again, same thing goes for a show like Lego Masters. As Nico pointed out, like as somebody who builds Lego constantly, he would need 2 weeks to do what these people do, and I could not
come in last place and be eliminated every week.
I was gonna say I wouldn't even be able to get through the door without slipping. So, you know, this is never to kind of, when somebody doesn't resonate, it's me that is not resonating with them. It's not them that's doing anything wrong. But anyway, this is just a group of really excellent shows, kind of representing the best of what happens on streaming. I don't have cable anymore. I don't even have broadcast. Everything I get is through streaming, and I do think it is a better format for TV. I think it is just a really huge chaotic mess, and there is so much bad stuff. I feel very privileged that I run with a pack that really likes the good stuff and is okay filtering out the bad stuff.
And I gotta ask you a question. I mean, your life was changed today. You know, you for the first time ever heard the most perfect Halloween song of all time.
Oh my God.
As I made you listen to Disneyland Paris's Halloween.
The sexiest Halloween song I've ever heard, with the gentlest R&B groove that is just ever so spooky.
Well, that actually brings us back to a joke that I didn't get to make yesterday for you when you were jamming out to Spooky Scary Skeletons before the broadcast. And I don't know if you were already aware that the person who wrote Spooky Scary Skeletons also wrote another song that is very near and dear to our hearts, especially this gent up here.
Yup.
He wrote the theme song to Golden Girls. Thank you for being a friend. So yeah, no wonder Nico loves spooky R&B. He loves Andrew Gold.
Andrew Gold, thank you.
And Golden Girls.
Man, I fucking hate life because I want to go another 2.5 hours just to keep talking to Tori. I guess I'll just have to message her. I'm lucky enough to have her deets. But
so anyway,
direct line.
You can find me at TK Elemental if you want to talk to me about all of this.
Speaking of direct lines.
Exactly. Just on social media. But Nico, where can everybody find you?
You guys can find me all over this incredible network at X's for Show on all your social media. As for me, you can find me on the Soch, and that's Nico Action. That's NicoAction, and I could not love making this show more. Oh, man. I was in a really bad mood when this show started.
Yeah, you were.
Just being with these guys, being with this audience, being able to talk about the things I love. Art is healing. And that's the thing that Tasty Cake was talking about earlier, having a friend who's going through dialysis and finding solace in Lego. That's really the art of healing. Whatever form healing takes. For me, it's my piano and screaming pretty hard. You know, but it's also for me being on this show. And for some people, it's putting on that beautiful drag beat and getting out there and sharing that art. And for Rosario Dawson, it's being a part of every IP that will continue to pay her the residuals that she needs to, you know, stay accustomed to the Cory Booker life. And so until we come back to talk about my favorite New Jersey politician, since Jim McGreevey said he is a gay American, there's 3 things you need to do.
Me too.
Number 1, you got to stay safe. It's what Ahsoka would want. Number 2, you got to be brave. It's what Mabel would want. And number 3, you have to evolve daily. It's what Paris would want.
Yeah, 100%. Evolve hourly if you can.
Become a lizard person.
It's better than being a human.
But
and then just go right back. And that's also evolving. And that's fine. Break that warp barrier.
Break that warp barrier in your hearts, in your souls. And guys, we are so excited. Guys, as a guys, girls, and all of my
Everybody,
non-binary royalty.
all of
in
you
between,
watching.
in a good burger way, we're all dudes. And we'll see you next time.